logistical and administrative roles in support of the federal law enforcement agencies that have surged in D.C. after President Trump declared a quote-unquote crime emergency here in the district. And they are now allowed to conduct law enforcement activities, which could include arrests. Previously, until this, they were not allowed to carry weapons and they were not allowed to conduct law enforcement activities.
2.5 years after a derailed train spewed toxic gases across eastern Ohio, none of the nation's largest freight railroads have fulfilled promises to join a voluntary federal close call program designed to reduce rail hazards and prevent accidents. Railroads complained that the program was cumbersome and no better than their own internal processes. A federal working group formed to negotiate railroad participation recently disbanded. High surf, flash flood alerts continue after Hurricane Erin from the Carolinas to Long Island. You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Ever wonder why you have insurance for your car or home, but not your digital life? Meet WebRoot Total Protection, your digital bodyguard that includes antivirus, identity protection, VPN, cloud backup, and more. With plans for individuals and families, WebRoot takes the guessing game out of cybersecurity so you can get back to living your best life online. Go to webroot.com/offer and get 50% off today. That's webroot.com/offer to get 50% off today. Live a better digital life with WebRoot, because peace of mind shouldn't be optional.
Good afternoon, 12:03 at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small with our top stories this hour. A Utah violinist is now in ICE detention in Colorado. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera has the story.
John Shin is a violinist originally from South Korea who made his career here in Utah, performing with the Utah Symphony and teaching children's violin. Earlier this week, his wife, Danae, got a 30-second phone call where John said he'd been arrested and was being sent to a detention center. Then the line went dead. Close friends like Nicole Fulmer say the news was devastating.
He is very deeply involved in the music community as a whole in Utah. I stopped immediately what I was doing and I just cried like I couldn't believe it. And then I reached out to Danae.
Now the community is rallying. Musicians are gathering daily at the Utah Capitol for what they call Bach for John, playing classical music in his honor. KSL searched public court records and did not find any criminal cases tied to Shin. It's still unclear why he's being detained or what his current immigration status is. ICE is yet to respond to our requests for comment. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
In our top national story this hour from ABC News, a group backed by the United Nations has released a report on starvation in the Gaza Strip.
The 59-page report finding that more than 500,000 people across the Gaza Strip are facing catastrophic conditions of starvation, destitution, and death, adding that 132,000 children under the age of 5 are at risk of death from acute malnutrition. Israel quickly responding to the report, firmly rejecting the claim of famine, saying it is biased and based on Hamas sources, denying there is any starvation in the Strip. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissing the report as an outright lie.
ABC foreign correspondent Lama Hassan reporting. Coming up, we'll take another look at traffic and weather together. We'll do that next. KSL News Time, 12:05.
You've built the dream, the home, the lifestyle, the legacy. Now it's time your windows and doors reflect that same $1 million standard. Whether you're designing a stunning custom home or upgrading the one you've loved for years, Peach Doors and Windows is here to bring that vision to life with precision, style, and craftsmanship.
The Peach specialty? High-end custom windows and doors that don't just fit your space, they elevate it. From sleek, modern lines to timeless, elegant finishes, they offer the kinds of craftsmanship that truly complements a $1 million space. And with Peach, the process is easy. No pressure, no gimmicks, just knowledgeable experts helping you find solutions to turn your someday project into right now.
Visit their spacious showroom, get inspired, and create something beautiful together. Peach Doors and Windows for the $1 million home you live in and the $1 million feeling you deserve. Visit peachdoorsandwindows.com or call 801-566-1255 today.
That's Peach Windows and Doors. Give them a call, 801-566-1255.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Taking a look at the roads right now. No accidents, no delays, really, at least along the I-15 corridor. You're good to go from Ogden to Provo. You may just run into some Service Street delays. We're seeing some delays around 2100 North in Lehigh and on Pioneer Crossing, also on SR 73 around Eagle Mountain. But also some scattered delays here and there on Mountain View, mostly at stoplights, but really all the other major delays on the freeways. You're not running into any slowdowns anywhere else along the Wasatch Front. Step back in time at the Utah Renaissance Fair. Today, enjoy exotic foods, performers, and artisan treasures. Get your tickets now at utahrenfair.org. Let the adventure begin. KSL weather look for a high of 97 degrees today. Staying mostly dry. We got a good chance of storms tomorrow with a high of 92. We're getting down to the upper 80s by Monday. 80% chance of storms. Right now, 91 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. For Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, Cougar Nation, and welcome on into Cougar Sports Saturday on this College Football Week 0 game day edition of the program. No BYU football yet. We're still 7 days out until BYU kicks it off against Portland State here on these airwaves on KSL News Radio next week at 6 o'clock. But right now we're watching Kansas State and Iowa State as it's tied up at 7 with about 12 minutes to go in the third quarter over across the pond in Dublin, Ireland. So we'll continue to check in on that game as it does count in the Big 12 conference standings. So a big game in the Big 12 title race, but there's so much to unpack over the next 3 hours talking BYU football as we get you ready for the 2025 season. And it all starts off with the starting lineup, and there's a new QB1 in Provo.
The starting lineup. A look at the stories making headlines right now. It's time for the starting lineup on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Bear Bachmeier is your quarterback one at BYU this season. A historic announcement as BYU is turning to a true freshman quarterback to open up the 2025 season. Bear Bachmeier, formerly of Stanford for 1 quarter on the farm. He was there in spring practices, but he arrives at BYU as a true freshman, and he won that job over McKay Hillstead, Trayson Bourget. And he's going to be BYU's QB1 in 1 week from now. It will be historic. He will only be the 8th true freshman quarterback to ever start a game for BYU, but he's the first to open up week 1. And this was Aaron Roderick making the announcement that Bear is QB1.
Bear has earned the job. He's going to start against Portland State. He's had a great camp, and he's our guy.
What were the main things he did in camp to show that he separated from the rest of the guys?
The separation, this is what Aaron Roderick had to say.
He throws a lot of completions. Yeah, he's really accurate. He was close to Anyway, he throws a lot of completions. He's done a great job in camp taking care of the football. He's thrown the fewest interceptions of all the guys, and throws a really high completion percentage, and a lot of explosive plays. Threw a bunch of touchdown passes and just has done a good job leading our team. And he's very mature, man. Our players gravitate to him. He's a good leader, and I mean, all these guys are good leaders, but rare to see a freshman who can lead the team the way he does every day.
That's BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. I want to hear from you, Cougar Nation. 57500. Text us. What's your reaction to Bear Bachmeier officially being named QB1 for BYU? Do you feel more optimistic about the season? Heck, do you think he's better than Jake Retzloff? I want to hear from you. 57500. Text in. We've got producer Nate Slack here. They'll keep me updated on all the texts and updates, and we'll read them throughout the show. But 57500, share your opinion on BYU turning to a true freshman. I will say over the course of fall camp, it's pretty clear that Bear Bachmeier's got a ton of talent. There's no denying that. Earlier today on ESPN's College Football Countdown, it wasn't College Game Day today, Reese Davis was in the studios in Bristol, and he said, they even brought up Bear Bachmeier. He made it to the ESPN telecast, and Reese Davis said it's just 47 is meant for defensive ends, not quarterbacks. Look, it is weird, not going to lie. Watching a quarterback in action wear the number 47, it is different, but the skill set is different as well compared to most true freshmen. Bear is very mature. He's got talent. There's no denying that. I just think you wonder, is it going to be a team that once thought maybe in January and February when this thing was coming together off the heels of an Alamo Bowl win, which made BYU look like at season's end as one of the hottest teams in college football and inches away from Arlington, can they get there with a true freshman? And I think that's my kind of wonder with this move. Losing Jake Retzloff when they did, it was the worst timing possible. But it had to happen. Jake was facing a 7-game suspension. He withdrew because 7-game suspension, you're not going to turn to Jake Retzloff at game 8. So he had to move, and seems like he's going to win the job at Tulane, it seems like. But Bear Bachmeier gets the job, and he did look impressive in camp. I think the one thing that I will just say is I don't think it was just a massive gap between him and McKay Hillstead. The times I did see McKay Hillstead with the first-team offense, I thought McKay looked good too. But I do think Bear Bachmeier's talent, his potential, is much higher. And I'm really excited to see what he can become in this BYU offense that, as you heard from Aaron Roderick, he displayed explosive plays, and Aaron Roderick, wants to continue to have an aggressive attack with this BYU offense. But this was Aaron Roderick on if there's concerns starting a true freshman quarterback to open up a season.
Sure, yeah, but he's in practice. He's proven that he deserves it. I think everybody out here has watched it happen. This is not a big surprise to anybody on our team because they've seen it happening in practice, and so now it's our job to help him have the players around him execute so that he can play in the game like he does in practice.
I'm happy that BYU just went ahead and announced it too and give this runway for Bear to be, build up the excitement, be embraced by Cougar Nation instead of this cloak and dagger, we're waiting until game day to announce the starting quarterback. Bear's the guy. And it was almost like it was the unofficial announcement last week when it was the Cougar Club practice and Bear's taking the first team snaps in that practice. You could have easily tried to mask it with McKay and Bear in that setting, but you bring in all of Cougar Nation, the Cougar Club donors, and they got to see firsthand Bear in action, and he was taking all those first-team reps. It was just kind of clear right there. It was almost like the unofficial announcement to Cougar Nation in that spot. But Bear Bachmeier's got a lot of talent, and I think that I'm really intrigued to see, how quickly he succeeds in games. Because if BYU can have a lot of success offensively to start the season and kind of get some momentum built, I think that bodes well for BYU because there's so much talent around Bear Bachmeier, and it's not solely on him. And I think that's what's intriguing about this team. Now, if it was, hey, Bear, you got to carry this thing, I'd just be saying, hey, get to a bowl game, and that would be a successful season. I still believe when you break in a new quarterback, it's a little bit of a transition year. Still, I think that BYU could win 9 games, potentially, maybe 10 if some bounces go their way. Again, potentially. That's probably pie in the sky thinking. I'm still looking at maybe 8-4, and I think that would be a really successful year with a true freshman quarterback in a power league. But I think that Bear Bachmeier, wins this job, and his size, his measurables, his arm strength, there's a lot to like in Bear Bachmeier. And I think also, too, with Aaron Roderick, when he's referenced this during camp and even, when he made the announcement that Bear Bachmeier is going to be QB1, he's noted, how much they pursued and were excited about the prospects of Bear Bachmeier when he was a high school recruit. As a high school sophomore, they were recruiting him. Whereas McKay Hillstead, they didn't really pursue him when he was coming out of high school. Yes, they pursued him as a transfer portal prospect, and McKay Hillstead had a lot of Power 4 interest coming out of the portal from Utah State. But they've clearly, Aaron Roderick and his offensive staff and him and Kalani Sitake, they've really liked Bear Bachmeier, and they're excited about that potential with him. And, one of the things they continue to bring up with Bear is how quick of a learning curve there has been for the true freshman. This was A-Rod.
That was impressive that he's been with us for 14 or 15 practices and playing at a really, really high level, especially for a freshman. But it's impressive. How quickly he's learned everything. He's very smart and he's doing a good job.
BYU coaches have kind of set it up to where if you do see any sort of growing pains, it will almost feel a little unacceptable because they've kind of set it up to where they're making it seem like he just learned everything inside and out and that it's plug and play, ready to go. I'm still willing to give Bear some leniency and be patient because I just think there's going to be times where there might be a lapse in judgment and there might be a mistake or two. You just hope it's not a disastrous mistake. But I think that the fact that he's learned this playbook so quickly and how they've been so open about that, this coaching staff, it's been really interesting to me how they've kind of put that out there, that he has learned this thing. And it makes you wonder, too, how much of this playbook can they throw? And I bring that up because we know Aaron Roderick's playbook is pretty deep. I mean, it's probably one of the deepest playbooks in college football, particularly in the trick plays, the special plays, as BYU likes to call them. How much of that can Bear execute for a guy that's only went through 15, 16 practices in fall camp? Now it's, obviously pivoted into Portland State prep. That began on Thursday, and they got another day of practice today. How much, realistically, can that playbook, that they dive into that thing with Bear Bachmeier at the controls? That will be really interesting to me to see how that's operated. You don't need to go too deep probably against Portland State, but I still think against Stanford, who has some knowledge and points of reference when it comes to Bear Bachmeier, because they worked with him for 2.5 weeks in spring practice, and they'll have a game under their belt to evaluate him and see him on film. That will be really interesting to me, that Week 2 game against Stanford. Speaking of Stanford, we will see them in action today. They're going to take on Hawaii in the Islands today at 5 o'clock, so we'll keep tabs on that a little bit later today as well. But loaded show. Bear Bachmeier is your QB1. Send us a text, 57500. It's Cougar Sports Saturday. We'll check in on K-State, Iowa State across the pond next, as it's Week 0 game day here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at EnduranceWarranty.com. If you have a 2004 or newer vehicle that's out of warranty or about to be, Endurance is urgently notifying U.S. drivers about their low-cost vehicle coverage plan designed to save drivers thousands on rising vehicle repair costs. Those who qualify can pick their plan, coverage, and repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental cars included. All covered repairs get paid directly to the repair shop for you. Call now for your free quote. Call 800-298-7906. 800-298-7906.
Right now at SNS Roofing, get $1,000 off any roof replacement. Plus, you'll get their incredible 50-year worry-free warranty. Dial pound 250 and then say the keyword SNS Roofing for a free bid.
Comcast Business High Five Hotline. What's the state of your excitement?
I signed my business up for the 5-year price lock guarantee, and I can't stop high-fiving people. High five!
Okay, deep breath.
High five.
You're in a good place. You signed your business up for 5 years of gig speed internet and advanced security, all on our ultra-reliable network.
Gig speeds and advanced and security? I'm so stoked.
Yep, and you get it at a great rate that's locked in for 5 years.
Woo!
The high five is just your body's way of saying, I'm winning.
So this is natural.
High-fiving everyone you see in a state of business savings enthusiasm? Totally natural.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you. High five, everybody. High five.
The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee is back, but only for a limited time, so sign your business up today.
High five.
Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 9/21/25 for new customers with qualifying bundle. Current customers may be eligible depending on services and area. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Making an Impact, sponsored by Granger. Vincent Panizzo was a grad student working on his PhD, but then he felt compelled to help those in need, and that's when he created Mission for the Homeless.
I have to make sure that they're okay. I have to sort of triage and see if they do they have any infections? Do they need to go to the hospital? Do they need to be taken off the streets immediately?
For the ones who get it done, Granger offers the professional-grade products you need, delivered when and where you need them. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio, your legacy home of the BYU Cougars. Mitch Harper with you. Just a quick programming note. Coming up on Tuesday, during the football season, Tuesdays are going to be awesome here on KSL News Radio. It's going to be basically Football Tuesdays here on KSL. At 6:30 on Tuesdays, you'll have the daily Cougar Tracks here on KSL, and hopefully you enjoyed the first week of Cougar Tracks, 6:30 p.m. daily here on the legacy home of the Cougars, half-hour show, getting your BYU sports fix. And then from 7 to 9, it'll be myself and Alex Curie on 1st and 12, talking Big 12 football from 7 to 9. And then at 9 o'clock to 10, it'll be BYU football with Kalani Sitake, the weekly coaches show here on KSL News Radio. So you'll have 3.5 hours of football content here on KSL every Tuesday throughout the football season. So cannot wait for that, and that begins coming up on Tuesday. But I'm very excited for Big 12 football this year, and we're getting our first dose of Big 12 action right now as K-State and Iowa State are in action in the Aer Lingus Classic over in Dublin, Ireland, and it's 7-7 with 4:33 left in the third. Iowa State's got the ball. I can barely tell what yard line they're at. I think they're at the 50 because the field is just a mess. It's just a water, rainy mess, muddy mess. And they clearly don't have the drainage system like BYU does. BYU's taken their L's in recent years with the field, but the drainage at LaVell Edwards Stadium is really good. That thing can take rain, a lot of rain, and be drained out pretty quick. Over in Dublin, they said they'd spent 16 months getting this field ready. I don't buy it, man, because that thing is a sloppy mess, and every year in Dublin, it's always raining, it seems like. But I'm excited to see Big 12 football. I hope people don't then say, oh, these are two of the best teams in the Big 12, and someone won 13-7. Like, you got to understand context. First game of the season, sloppy mess, traveling 4,000 miles. Like, there's got to be some grace given to these teams. I think still, though, watching these teams in the trenches, the physicality, I've been very impressed. K-State's defense, man, looks really good. I'm glad BYU doesn't have to face them. Iowa State, very tough as well, but those elements over in Ireland are clearly playing a role in that K-State-Iowa State game. We'll continue to check in throughout the day on that. But again, Bear Bachmeier, the top story, of course, is Bear Bachmeier's QB1 for BYU. And I want to hear from you, Cougar Nation, 57500. Share your thoughts on what you think of a true freshman being named the starting quarterback. And it's one of the big lessons that we learned from fall camp that, Bear was going to emerge. It was clear that was trending that direction. And Aaron Roderick throughout camp, continued to say he planted the seeds throughout camp about Bear. And look, there was buzz even at Big 12 Media Day where, there were rumblings that Bear had a real good chance to win the job, but then you still thought, a true freshman, week 1? Really? That quick? Can he get it done? He gives BYU the best chance to win. You'll hear from Kalani Sitake coming up a little bit later on his thoughts on Bear Bachmeier being named QB1. But I think some of the big lessons that we learned from fall camp, this defense for BYU, I just brought up the Iowa State, Kansas State defenses, how they're looking, I think, really good, and the physicality of those teams. BYU's defense is going to be awesome too. And BYU's got depth, and if they take on injuries, they'll be okay. They'll still have the personnel. I think, some of the positions may be a little bit lighter than others, like defensive tackle. But I do believe that this team defensively is going to be one of the best in the Big 12. And I feel like that's what gives me a lot of confidence that no matter the random game that Bear Bachmeier maybe has an off day and it just doesn't operate at a high level to the level that maybe Aaron Roderick and Kalani think it should, this defense will give BYU a chance to win any game. And what we're watching right now with Iowa State and K-State being at 7-7 late in the third quarter, I could see some days where BYU maybe is in this kind of contest and they could still come out on top because this defense is going to be really good. And they're led by Isaiah Glasker, Keanu Tanavasa, Jack Kelly. They're the top 3. And I think next in line, and I feel like he gets slept on, is Tanner Wall. I think Tanner Wall, to me, coming out of camp, absolute stud. I think he's going to be excellent. And I bring that up, too, because Jay Hill kind of painted the picture of a dogfight at safety, the battle, and it definitely was. There's no doubt. I mean, you got some Tommy Parasis. We're going to see a lot of him, too. You got Falatau Satuala. You're going to see him. But Parasis and Satuala, they're next in line. They're sophomores. But Tanner Wall, to me, I just think he's a playmaker on the back end of the defense. You pair him up with DeMooney. I love that tandem at safety. There's just so much talent on this defense, and I think there's playmakers too. And that's what gives me the confidence that this group is going to be excellent. There were times where they suffocated BYU's offense during fall camp, even in media observation windows, which were only about 20 minutes or so. And you just saw the impact, the pressure up front from guys like Keanu Tanavasa, from Tausili Akana, from Logan Latui. I came away really impressed with BYU's defense. I also like what I saw from the offense at running back with LJ Martin and Sione Moa. And I'm bullish on LJ Martin this season. Earlier in the week on Cougar Tracks, one of my bold predictions for the season is that LJ exceeds 1,000 yards rushing. And that might not be as bold as you think because I think the volume is going to be high for LJ, but it's bold in the sense that he's got to stay healthy to get to that mark. Because you go a stretch like you did last year from SMU to October, Arizona game, that's about 4 or 5 games. You're not going to get to 1,000. So LJ's got to be healthy, and I'm expecting a huge year for LJ Martin coming out of fall camp. Let's take another timeout. We'll get to BYU head coach Kalani Sitake as I had a one-on-one conversation with him to recap fall camp and discuss Bear Bachmeier.
It's time to get a new Bernina machine at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Incredible August savings on the Bernina 770 Cape and 700 embroidery closeout machines. And you've got to see the exciting all-new Bernina entry-level and pro lineup machines with limited special introductory pricing. Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on select Bernina sewing, quilting, and embroidery machines and get special free bundles of accessories.
These free gift packages include items such as embroidery kits,
Presser feed set,
machine and travel cases,
embroidery software coupons,
books, ruler kits, and lots of accessories.
0% interest for 18 months on certain models. See store for details.
Come in now for bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
And it's on sale.
12:31. Good afternoon. I'm Adam Small with KSL News Radio. Our top stories this hour. Crews are working to contain a fire burning in the hills above Mapleton. As of last update, it's burned about 50 acres, but it is not threatening homes. Investigators now say they believe the fire is human-caused, and they say they've identified the kids that are responsible. Their investigation is ongoing. We're also getting details about a serious accident that happened in Logan Canyon this morning. Utah Highway Patrol says a single vehicle rolled. The driver received significant injuries. The driver was life-flighted to the hospital. Troopers are investigating drowsy driving as a potential factor in the crash. We're also still waiting for an opinion from the Utah Supreme Court regarding whether death row inmate Ralph Menzies can be executed in less than 2 weeks. His attorneys are arguing he's not competent because of his dementia, but a lower court judge previously ruled that he is competent enough to be put to death. Matt Hunsaker is the son of Maureen Hunsaker, the woman Menzies murdered in 1986.
If we don't execute Menzies on the 5th, I don't think they're going to execute him. That's all I have to say about any of that questions. If he's not executed on the 5th, they're not going to execute him.
If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the state, Menzies will be the first inmate executed by firing squad in Utah since 2010. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We're getting more details about the FBI searches at the home and office of former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
While Bolton had told our Jonathan Karl weeks ago that he was concerned about quote-unquote retribution from the Trump administration because his acrimonious relationship now with the president, this is not something that the president or the Department of Justice or anyone in the administration had the authority to unilaterally order this kind of a search. They had to go to 2 different judges, one magistrate in Maryland, one federal magistrate in Washington, D.C., get those judges to sign off on these searches.
ABC's Jay O'Brien reporting. Coming up, staying hot and dry today, but we got rain coming up tomorrow, actually for the next few days. We'll take a look at the forecast next. KSL News Time, 12:33.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Right now on the Wasatch Front, no major crashes to be aware of. We are seeing just a couple of scattered delays. Typical delays northbound I-15 in Farmington as you're approaching Park Lane, with the right lane closed there with construction on a new pedestrian bridge. So you're going to run into some slow and go up there, but once you get past Park Lane, you're good to go. Still seeing scattered slowdowns on Mountain View as you're approaching all the red light intersections. Also seeing more backups on portions of 2100 North in Lehigh, especially as you are going eastbound around Redwood Road there on 2100 North. seeing more delays there, as well as some scattered delays on Pioneer Crossing. KSL weather working our way up to a high of 97 degrees in Salt Lake City today. We'll get down to the low 90s tomorrow with a 60% chance of storms, and then getting down into the upper 80s to start the work week Monday with an 80% chance of storms. Right now it's 91 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
I'm not going to lie. I feel like this offseason has been really long. Really long. Longer than usual. Usually I say, oh, it just flew by. It just went so fast. I don't know if you agree with me, but to me personally, it felt long. I'm ready for some BYU football to get back into our lives, and that comes next week as BYU takes on Portland State. Kickoff at 6 o'clock, and we will have Cougar Sports Saturday beginning the coverage at high noon next week. And the man that'll be on the sidelines leading the BYU Cougars for the 10th season at his alma mater is head coach Kalani Sitake. And I caught up with Kalani at the conclusion of fall camp to discuss Bear Bachmeier and what went into that decision to name a true freshman, Bear Bachmeier, as QB1. This was my chat with Kalani.
We knew in high school that he was a guy.
Trayson and McKay made a really hard decision, and McKay especially. But towards the end of it, we felt most comfortable, and with Bear leading the charge. And I think, like I mentioned it before, just settling it on the field. That's what we did, and so we'll see how it goes. I am confident though that we have a number of quarterbacks that can help us win, and that's in the 4. I really feel good about all 4 of those guys, and whether it's Bear Bachmeier or McKay Hillstead or Trayson Bourget or Emerson Gauman. I mean, those guys can all do it, and don't count out Cole Hagan either. So we have quarterbacks that can play, they can throw, they feel really comfortable. I just haven't had a quarterback with this limited amount of time in prep actually grasp the playbook so effortlessly with what Bear's done. So that's a huge compliment to him and his studying and his football IQ, and then also to, you can't do it alone, so being able to do it with the other guys in the room, I've been really impressed with the way McKay and Trayson have opened up just their knowledge and helping everyone learn it. So that's a huge plus, especially nowadays. You don't see that very often.
When you talk about the playbook and Bear knowing that playbook, was the playbook maybe simplified for him, or is this like the full playbook? I mean, A-Rod was saying how he knows stuff that Jaron or Zach, I mean, how did he learn it so fast?
Well, I think it's just everybody just kind of putting time into it with him, and then him just grasping it. You have to give him a lot of credit for the study and the being able to apply it on the field quickly. And then I've never seen a person learn as much from others getting their reps too as much as Bear has. So I don't think, looking at what we did offensively, there's nothing about it that's pretty simple. I mean, you have a lot of veterans that are still learning it. So I think that should have given the other guys, kind of a leg up on the competition. But to their credit, they're really open with teaching it to Emerson and to Bear. So I'm really fortunate that we have, unselfish people that will work with our team and compete, but also help their competitors. So that's a good sign. But this team first concept has been really good for us, and it's been good to have players that actually live by it and not just talk about it.
Does Bear give you the best chance to potentially reach a Big 12 championship? And did that factor into the thought process at all between you and A-Rod?
We actually feel good about all those guys giving us a chance to play for a championship. That's why they're here. We just felt like he was the one that won the spot. I mean, that's. I told you guys before that we're going to settle it on the field, and we did. So, but that's the interesting thing is usually someone separates himself I felt like everyone was elevated in the whole process. So maybe we should have a QB competition every year because it makes everybody better. But I saw the best of that position group and saw them develop, and I still see them get better. I mean, even today, I thought all the quarterbacks had a really good day.
When you talk about it makes everyone better, I mean, some of your best teams, Kalani, have started with quarterback battles, and we could go through them, but what does this sort of dynamic bring out in teams during this time of the year that really maybe sets a good foundation going into a season?
Well, I think the team, there's a little bit of ownership on it when they know that, that Jake had left, and I think everyone knows that we're talking about who the quarterback is going to be. You can see the team and everybody rally around whoever that's going to be, whether it was going to be Bear or McKay or Trayson. I think the team was going to rally around whoever the decision was going to be about. And what was interesting is they didn't rally around one person; they rallied around the whole position group, and the position group answered the call, and then everyone just played really high level, and now we're at where we're at. And I think I can't say it was just that one guy was that much better. It's just he won the spot. But that's not saying that these guys can't start at other places either. We love them here, and we need them here because it's a long season, and I think Bear needs them. Is this whole part of the process is that they've seen things that he hasn't, so. But I also don't think that you should just count on freshmen making mistakes. I know I've heard people say, well, freshmen are going to make mistakes. Yeah, but sometimes they don't, and sometimes it's not really about mistakes. Is how catastrophic are those, and can we rally back from them? And was it something that was out of pure selfishness, or was he actually trying to make a play that everybody can understand? So I think the team will rally around whatever it is, and I feel like the way he managed the games and the decisions that he made were ones that actually benefits the team overall. And so and for a young freshman to figure that out and feel it, it's something special.
Who will be the 5 guys protecting Bear?
I think that's just kind of I really believe we have 8 guys that can do it. So we're just going to have to figure it out as we go through. Some guys are banged up too, and so we'll see how it goes into next week. Right now it's hard to say. I think we have a feeling of guys that are going to be on the field, but we just have to kind of see what the health would be like for our team next week.
Going to the great thing about this quarterback situation with Bear is that he's on a team that there's a lot of talent around him, and the defense is going to be very complimentary in all this too. Are you as bullish on the defense as you were last year? They were the number 1 defense in the Big 12. How are they looking coming out of fall camp?
Yeah, I've been really happy with the way Jay's leading this defense. And the things that decisions that he's made with his staff. The major problem is that we have a bunch of playmakers, and they can't all be on the field at the same time. So they're going to have to make it count when they get on the field. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out because there's a lot of stats to be made, and I think they're going to kind of share them. But we have a lot of guys that can play there, so it's just a matter of what's the best matchup, who's going to give us the best opportunity to make plays and get some big-time plays, make some big-time plays that can help change the game. But I think it's going to be leaning on guys like Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker first and Keanu Navasa. Those are the guys we can count on, and then we kind of branch out from there.
When will the team decide its captains for the year?
Yeah, I'll probably do that in the next couple of days, and then go with our captains, our co-captains, which will make up the leadership group, and then away we go, man. I think this is when that happens. This is officially the end of camp. We're going to start focusing on prepping for next week. And so I think we're have Thursday, Friday, Saturday practices and then start the game week practice next week. So it's really good things. And we were lucky we get to see our first 2 opponents on TV. So, you get, I think Portland State's playing Tarleton State. And then Stanford plays Hawaii. So those are good games to watch in week 0.
Last thing for you, Kalani, appreciate the time. Lavelle used to always say, I feel like you got a chance to be a pretty good football team. As camp now is done, let's keep it simple. Do you think this team's got a chance to be a pretty good football team?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. That's they don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. I mean, I love the boys. The game of football, from our part, I feel good about where we're at. But everybody's working hard, and you have to give a lot of respect to your opponents. My job is to make sure that we're playing at our best every week, and then we can try to do it 12 times, If we do that, I feel good about our opportunities after that of extending the season. If we don't do a good enough job, and I think we did an okay job of that last year, and that's my job. I got to find ways to motivate these guys so that they can be at their best. One way is to have the depth so that when injuries and things like that happen, we're able to get the best 11 out there, give us a chance to win. But it's every year's a different thing. I just feel good about the way these guys are. I feel good about the mentality, the character, and the identity that the team's starting to come up with, and the leadership that we have in this group. So, I want to find out too, man. But I have a feeling that we might have a chance of being pretty good.
He's BYU head football coach Kalani Sitake. Always appreciate the time with Kalani. Coach Kalani spending some time with me to talk Bear Bachmeier and this team heading into the 2025 season. Let's take a break. Things are getting crazy in Ireland. We'll check in on that, and then also look at BYU's recent history against FCS teams as BYU gets set to host Portland State next week in Provo. It's Cougar Sports Saturday, powered by KSL Sports.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
The Garden Restaurant has been open for a few months, and if you haven't stopped by, now is the time to check it out. Open weekdays 11 to 3, fresh flavors, iconic location, the Garden Restaurant.
Grown-ups, don't go back to school. Go forward through school into your future as an IT professional. Whether you're starting out, switching careers, or a veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you get into IT in just a few short months with no prior experience. So take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Your rewarding career in IT awaits. That's mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the VA benefits.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life.
Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper with you. Keep the text flowing here on the show. I asked you today, I want to get your thoughts on Bear Bachmeier, a true freshman quarterback. First time BYU is turning to a true freshman to start a season. Keep the text rolling in. I want to hear your thoughts. 5275 writes, I would have picked him based on name only. Such a cool quarterback. That he is. He's got some swag. There's no doubt about that. Bear Bachmeier. I will say I missed the long hair. He cut that on picture day. He wanted to look clean cut in his photos for his mom, he told me. I hope he just grows it out again and has some of that long hair. I wanted a BYU quarterback with some long hair, but he does have some swag. That name, that number, it's pretty cool. 6464 writes, Bear has talent and brains. Jake made a lot of mistakes last year, covered by the D. Think Bear can do it. I agree. I think, honestly, Bear Bachmeier, one of my predictions this season is that Bear's going to have fewer interceptions than Jake. Jake had 12 interceptions this season ago, leading the Big 12 in picks. He was tied with some other QBs, and that was over the course of 13 games. But, even last night I was replaying the BYU SMU game, just to think about how much has changed from last year to now. There's still some key players, but there were moments even in that SMU game. I forgot early in that game, Jake had a fumble where it was a poor play. I remember the pick he threw to a D tackle, but he also had a fumble early. It was his second drive of the game. BYU's defense was lights out against Preston Stone. So if Bear just eliminates that stuff, takes care of the football, I think he's going to be in a good spot. Texter 0292, I am seriously hoping that with a new offense that they will be able to totally surprise the nation with crisp, clean plays. I am excited to see how Bear, along with his brother, Tiger, do. I don't think this offense is going to change completely. Like, you're going to still see some option. Like, that was a great play last year with Jake Retzlaff. I think you're still going to see some shots downfield, but you're going to see a physical ground attack too. BYU wants to rely on its offensive line, and as you heard from Kalani Sitake just moments ago, they feel like they've got 8 starters along that offensive line. Keep the text going, 57500. Weigh in on your thoughts about a true freshman in Bear Bachmeier getting the QB1 nod for BYU. Across the pond, things have been wild since we last checked into the game. It was tied up at 7 previously. Now, there's been an offensive onslaught in Dublin. Iowa State leads 17-14 with 10:04 remaining in the fourth. Iowa State took a lead at 14-7 with 1:07 left in the third. Rocco Beck found Brett Eskelson for a 24-yard touchdown, and then quickly thereafter, K-State moved down the field as Avery Johnson connected with Jace Brown for a 37-yard touchdown. And now Iowa State tacked on a 34-yard field goal. So the Cyclones lead 17-14. And again, I'm keeping close tabs on this one because it's going to help shape the Big 12 race. And BYU, of course, plays Iowa State October 25th, a week after the Utah game. They don't play Kansas State this year. BYU doesn't get the Wildcats again until 2027, which is kind of crazy that they played them last year. And then you go a 3-year gap without playing a conference foe. But welcome to life in a 16-team league. But we'll continue to watch as Kansas State takes over with the ball with about 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. BYU next week is going to be taking on Portland State, and the Vikings will be in action a little bit later today. 2:30 kick against Tarleton State, a top 10 team in the FCS. And Portland State's at home. There's a little bit of intrigue as to who they will start at quarterback. We'll keep tabs on that. But BYU, no matter who they trot out, Portland State does at quarterback, or whoever they trot out, honestly, BYU is going to be a huge favorite. They're a 5-touchdown favorite right now, 34.5 points. And producer Nate Slack put together a list of BYU, how big they've been favored against FCS teams in the Kalani Sitake era. And it's kind of interesting because not that it's the end-all, be-all, those spreads and projections about how much you're expected to win by, but do they ever live up to it, BYU? Last year, they were only a 16.5-point favorite against Southern Illinois, and they crushed the Salukis and took care of business there. 2 years ago, Southern Utah, BYU was a 31-point favorite, and it was a little bit closer than the final score felt, and BYU didn't cover that. Remember, Southern Utah's head coach even said, BYU's not that good. They're not that good. And lo and behold, that ended up playing out. Utah Tech in 2022, Idaho State in 2021. 2020, they played North Alabama. BYU handled them. That was the game where Zach Wilson had the headband. Any game, anytime, anywhere, any place. 2019, Idaho State. That was also a memorable Zach game because it was his return from that thumb injury after he suffered that against Toledo in that year. 2018, McNeese State. BYU was ranked in that one. They were favored by 26 points over McNeese State. 2017, oh my goodness. It's like deja vu. Portland State, they were a 34-point favorite in that one. And we all know how that played out, 20-6. Hopefully it's not like that next week. 2016, Southern Utah, that was kind of a slog too. I think that was 35-10, something like that, 35-7. Yeah, so BYU always takes care of business against the FCS teams. I don't worry about that, but you're going to win with some style. I think that's the one game where on the schedule where style points matter a little bit. Like if you have a 14-point win over Portland State next week, no one's feeling good about it. You better win by at least 28. At least. Ideally, you're winning it by 30. But we'll get a look at the Vikings coming up around 2:30 today. Very interested to see what they look like, and it'll be the only time I'm actually interested in really watching an FCS game, I'll be honest. When BYU is going to be facing Portland State, I want to tune in and kind of get a glimpse at the Vikings. And BYU gets a chance to scout both their Week 0 opponents with Stanford playing at 5 and Portland State playing at 2:30. So we'll get a good glimpse of these teams. But I will say, too, looking at these FCS games, wouldn't it be nice to eventually get to a point where we're no longer seeing these games? And I know you're probably thinking it helps the football ecosystem, getting these teams their weight room, this and that. I'd like to see BYU and Portland State in the spring. Get it into thud period. You don't have to actually play an actual game, but just let's have some thud sessions in the springtime, BYU, Portland State during that. I want to see BYU have a game out of the gates like what Baylor's going to have next Friday. Baylor's hosting Auburn on a Friday night. How does that not get you hyped up? Like, I'm ready for football no matter what, so I'll take BYU, Portland State because we haven't had it since, December 28th when the Alamo Bowl took place. But still, I'd rather have a game against a power conference team out of the chute. That's what I want to see. And I want to get to a point in college football, and we'll talk a little bit later about the playoff and how some other power leagues are changing up their schedules and how that could impact BYU. But eventually I want to see Kalani's goal and aspirations for scheduling. One ACC team, one Big Ten team, one SEC team in the non-conference. That makes too much sense. Everyone go to a 9-game league schedule and then play one out-of-conference opponent from the other power leagues. Sign me up. 12 games against power conference teams. Boosters and fans are paying more than ever. You don't want to see BYU Portland State. You just don't. There's more to lose than there is to actually gain. Winning by 30, yes, it's good, but does it teach you much? No, not really. I just want to see these games move away and go to the spring, get a thud period with Portland State, and still write the check to them so they can help build up their facilities. Do that in the spring, in OTAs, when you want to get some feel and intel on what these new transfers that you're bringing in look like with your team. And it can get you a real evaluation of those type of players rather than waiting until this game when everything counts and going up against a team that no one's hyped to face against. So that's my feelings on that when it comes to FCS. Hopefully we don't see these games much longer. Let's take a break. Hour number 2 coming up next.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Israel continues to deny anybody in Gaza is starving to death. Prime Minister Netanyahu calling a new report by a UN-backed group a lie that he says uses Hamas sources for its conclusions. The report says more than 500,000 people are facing catastrophic conditions of starvation, destitution, and death. The photo evidence of children who are skin and bones doesn't lie, says the executive director of the United Nations Relief Agency, Mara Cronenfeld.
We are seeing children facing acute malnutrition. Already over 130 children have died of malnutrition. That's outside of the 17,000 killed on the siege on Gaza.
Freed from custody by a judge's order and welcomed back by family, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, wrongly deported to a mega prison in El Salvador and returned to the U.S. This TikTok video posted by an immigrant advocacy group. Abrego Garcia has a trial coming up on human smuggling charges, which he denies. More on the FBI searches at the home and office of a former Trump National Security Advisor, John Bolton, who's a vocal critic of the president. ABC's Jay O'Brien in Washington.
Trump and his allies asserted at the time that Bolton put classified information or secret in some other form information into that book. Now, we don't know if this investigation is about that necessarily, but what we do know is that sources told our Catherine Falders that this investigation is in some form or fashion about the alleged mishandling of classified information.
A truck driver from India accused of being in the U.S. illegally, who allegedly made an illegal U-turn that killed 3 people in Florida last week, has been denied bail today in Fort Pierce, Florida. The man got a work permit and driver's license in California. 19 states and Washington, D.C. issue driver's licenses regardless of immigration status. Supporters say that lets people work, visit doctors, and travel. You're listening to ABC News.
Not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Ever wonder why you have insurance for your car or home, but not your digital life? Meet WebRoot Total Protection, your digital bodyguard that includes antivirus, identity protection, VPN, cloud backup, and more. With plans for individuals and families, WebRoot takes the guessing game out of cybersecurity so you can get back to living your best life online. Go to webroot.com/offer and get 50% off today. That's webroot.com/offer to get 50% off today. Live a better digital life with WebRoot, because peace of mind shouldn't be optional.
103 at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small with our top stories this half hour. We're hearing from a neighbor who came within inches of getting shot the night 2 Tremonton police officers were killed.
It came close to taking him away from us.
Nicole Kidman exclusively tells KSL TV her husband Randy got in the car Sunday night thinking someone was shooting off fireworks, but within minutes, a bullet flew through his windshield. Randy says he was grateful he wasn't hit, but he's feeling survivor's guilt after learning about the 2 officers.
It's heartbreaking. I get to go home and see my family. They don't.
The sheriff's deputy and his canine were also shot that night, but they both survived. Heads up, if you're going to be driving in Weber County tonight, UDOT is closing I-15 in both directions at 4400 South in Riverdale so they can demolish a bridge over the freeway. Closure starts at 10 o'clock tonight and lasts until 8:30 tomorrow morning. In our top national story this hour from ABC News, we're learning about a deadly bus crash that happened yesterday in upstate New York.
Authorities say the tour bus left from New York City with 54 people on board and was on its way back from Niagara Falls when it spun out of control at full speed outside Buffalo. First responders desperately working to free survivors, many trapped under the bus. Authorities scrambling extra buses to move the injured, 4 medical choppers flying in to rush the most critical patients to hospitals.
ABC's Morgan Norwood reporting. Coming up, another look at traffic and weather together. That's next. KSL News Time 104.
Small businesses are the heartbeat of our communities, and Comcast Rise is making a difference. Now in its 5th year, Comcast Rise has delivered $160 million in support to 14,500 small businesses nationwide. Being a Comcast Rise winner means big tools for small business and sets them on a course to succeed. Comcast has just announced 100 new grant packages for entrepreneurs designed to support small business nationwide and along the Wasatch Front, empowering them with technology makeovers, creative production, media schedules, educational resources, and $5,000 grants. Comcast Rise is proud to announce several Wasatch Front winners for 2025, including JFS IT Solutions, Michelle Leo Events, and Wicked Peel Pizza Kitchen. Comcast Rise, fueling growth, sparking innovation, and strengthening communities. Because when small businesses thrive, we all thrive. Visit ComcastRise.com to learn more.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. No accidents on the freeways, but we are seeing some scattered slowdowns throughout the valleys. We are seeing slowdowns northbound I-15 as you are approaching University Parkway in Orem. Also seeing some delays as well on Pioneer Crossing, as well as SR-73 as you're coming on over into Lehigh or into American Fork. Also seeing delays on 2100 North in Lehigh. Also seeing delays still scattered on Mountain View, especially as you're approaching the red light intersection. Seeing the biggest delays around 3500 South in Mountain View. And then also northbound I-15 still seeing slow and go delays with the right lane closed on I-15 in Farmington as you're approaching Park Lane. UDOT construction alert. Plan ahead. I-15 will be closed in both directions at 4400 South in Riverdale tonight for bridge demolition. KSL weather. Inching our way up to a high of 97 degrees today. We're getting down to the low 90s tomorrow with a 60% chance of storms. We've got a greater chance of storms Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with highs in the upper 80s. Right now it's 93 degrees and partly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 2 is off and running. If you miss any part of Cougar Sports Saturday, highly recommend you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. It's available anywhere you get podcasts. So just search Cougar Sports Saturday or search BYU football, whatever you need to do. You'll see Cougar Sports Saturday on all the podcast feeds, and hit that subscribe button. And also subscribe to Cougar Tracks as well. That's daily content. So you're going to hear me 6 days a week. It's going to be a busy football season, but I cannot wait. It's going to be a fun year. Update in Ireland. Iowa State now up with a big commanding lead, 24-14 with 6:38 to go on Kansas State. So Iowa State could notch a big win out of the chute in Big 12 play to go to 1-0 in the Big 12 conference standings. BYU football is a week away from getting its season started, and it's a perfect time to go to some superlatives on both sides of the ball. We're going to start with the offensive side for BYU football in 2025. We came up with these topics and categories for the offense. We'll start from kind of the lesser-known spots, the deep cut guy who could make an impact on this offense. And I'll go with a deep cut, someone that probably most Cougar fans don't know much about. Tight end position, I think, is an opportunity for someone to emerge. And that, to me, is Will Zundel, redshirt freshman out of American Fork High School. Coming out of fall camp, I thought he was the third best tight end for BYU. I thought Will Zundel was making some great plays in the receiving game at tight end, and he's got good size, too. I think Will Zundel is a name to watch as far as a deep-cut player that could potentially make an impact this season and make a name for himself this year. Biggest depth chart mover I look at is also at tight end. That's Kean Need. And Kean Need, I say this going into the season too, because He joined the program from Weber State in New Mexico. You look at those programs, and we just wouldn't expect much of an impact from someone, but the tight end position was ripe for opportunity for someone else to pair up with Carson Ryan. And coming out of fall camp, Kean Need is probably going to be that number 2 tight end for the Cougars. And I think if you go to some 12 personnel where that means having 2 tight ends out on the field at one time, I would not be surprised if it's Kean Need pairing up with Carson Ryan. And I think Kean Need, he's a big body. He's huge. He has got great size. And he's an excellent blocker, but I think he's got more to offer, too, in the receiving game for BYU. But I think Kean Need will be someone that'll be a depth chart mover as well. We'll probably get that first depth chart coming out on Monday, I would expect. Maybe it's up for debate because up on the Hill, Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham said he might not release a depth chart this year because of the required availability reports in the Big 12 games this season. Kalani was asked about if he would release a depth chart, and he said he's okay with releasing one. I just don't see why not, because ultimately you can release a depth chart and you don't have to execute that. You could say this guy's starting, this dude's the backup, and then by game's end, it doesn't play out that way. And we've seen that many times. There were times the last 2 years where Chase Roberts was listed as a co-starter with an or next to his name at wide receiver. And that was his talking point in both week 1 press conferences for Kalani. Hey, why is Chase Roberts only a co-starter, not a real starter? And Kalani's just like, we feel like we got 5 or 6 starters at wide receiver. So again, just releasing a depth chart doesn't tell you much. It gives you a little bit of a barometer of what the personnel is going to be, but at the end of the day, you got to look at final snap counts, participation, to really get a sense of what it's going to be, and you can always make those adjustments in week if you're Kalani and the coaching staff. But Kean Need is a depth chart mover to me on this offense. Most improved player on the offensive side in 2025, left tackle, Isaiah Jota. Jota was pretty good in that Utah game, and he even, gut-checked it out and finished while injured against Arizona State. It caused the injury that he suffered, that ankle injury, caused him to miss the Houston game last year and the bowl game against his old team, Colorado. But let's call it what it is. The left tackle position, if you play that spot at BYU under Kalani and Aaron Roderick, you're going to be an NFL offensive tackle. Brady Christensen, Blake Freeland, Kingsley Suamataia, Caleb Etienne, they're all with NFL teams right now. The next in line at left tackle is Isaiah Jota. And I think he's been excellent at left tackle, doing a great job setting the edge. I think Jota's going to be really good for BYU this season. I'm excited about him. And I loved my conversation with Jota too. Just really humble guy. He even acknowledged that, maybe he wasn't, doing things the right way when he was at Snow College. And then he goes to Colorado and now circles back to BYU. And, it's experiences like that I think often get overlooked. A lot of people are just talking about BYU is just paying the bag and they're just doing that, recklessly spending. That's not the case. It's just not. BYU's got a budget like anyone else, whether it's football, like it's basketball. There's a budget. The money's not going to be endless. This was an expensive cycle for really all the sports because it was before revenue sharing. But going back to Jota, the BYU experience is, I think he's been really humbled and he's really enjoyed his time at BYU. He probably never in his wildest dreams expected to ever play a down of football in Provo, Utah and at BYU, but he's loving it. And he's going into his redshirt senior season, and he's got a chance to be an excellent left tackle for BYU. And if he puts out good film, why can't he get into a camp next year and be an NFL guy? I don't know if he's a drafted guy. I don't know if he's a first-team all-Big 12 performer like Caleb Etienne, but I expect Jota's going to be excellent. TJ Woods did fantastic with Caleb Etienne. Remember where Caleb Etienne was last year? I think many were stunned that Etienne was getting appointed the nod as the starting left tackle without question. And they're doing the same with Isaiah Jota. I'm not going to question TJ Woods. I think what he's done in such a short turnaround from where BYU was, about 21 months ago to now it is night and day different with the offensive line. Just night and day. And they are doing an excellent job. I think that O-line is going to be really good. There were some times when you look at the collection on the offensive line during camp where Bruce Mitchell, I thought, struggled with his snaps a little bit. I still want to see more of Waylon Lapuaho. Haven't seen him much in camp. He played a little bit, but was primarily off to the side. But Jada is going to be really good. Those tackles are important more than ever when you're dealing with a true freshman quarterback, too. So Jada's got the responsibility to protect that blind side for Bear Bachmeier, and I think he's going to be one of the most improved players in this BYU football program. On the offensive side, the best player, L.J. Martin. L.J. Martin is the guy this year for BYU. I'm so excited for L.J. Parents are both FBI agents. He says he's he almost got like a FBI agent demeanor, how kind of quiet, and you're almost wondering, what is he thinking right now when you're looking at him? L.J. Martin is growing as a BYU player. He looks great physically. He's finding his voice. Kalani's talked about that quite a bit. And even myself as a media member, I'm seeing that with LJ. You know, when he first arrived, he was as shy as they come, man. Like he did not speak really much. I mean, you'd talk to some players and you'd ask, hey, what do you think about this hotshot freshman LJ Martin? Haven't heard him speak. That's what some players on the team would say. But now LJ is a leader with his play, as an example on the field, but I think off the field too. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him named a captain next week. And I think that's critical. When you're talking about the best players on a particular side of the ball, they got to be a leader. They got to be a captain. And I expect L.J. Martin's going to be that. And I think his workload is going to be significant this year. You know, he's got to be someone that's getting 20 touches per game. Last year, he averaged about 13 carries per game and only 10 game appearances. That number's got to be around 20 for L.J. Martin. And we saw in the bowl game, too, that he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield, too. I don't know if that's his strength. I think Sione Moa is maybe a better receiver out of the backfield, and hopefully BYU can still get Hinckley Ropati. They're still waiting on that. He might be the best of the group if he gets rejoined, because remember that 2022 season with Boise State, the Stanford game? He was fantastic as a pass catcher out of the backfield. But LJ's got that in his bag, too. I just think LJ, if he can emerge as one of the best running backs in the Big 12, BYU could go far. Even with so much new at quarterback, they can go far if L.J. Martin carries them. And he's got to stay healthy, and that's a lot on L.J. And I think, but to me, the personnel in front of him, the offensive line's in a spot where they can run the football and win a game, 24-17 and be just okay. And shrink that game, get less than 3 hours, get in, get out, stay healthy, and win the football game on the ground. I'm okay with that. And if that's your style of play this year, by all means, do it. Like, you're still going to be passing the football. That's the BYU way. But try to eliminate the opportunities for, turnovers and flipping momentum and facing adversity, because I feel like L.J. Martin, I feel really good about when he touches the ball. Good things are going to happen. He's going to get you at least a yard or two. He's going to get upfield and get you positive yardage. I'm so excited for LJ. And keeping him healthy is at a premium, but I've got him as my best player on the offensive side for BYU football in 2025. Let's go to the defensive side after the break. We'll take a timeout. Man, this game in Ireland, too, continues to be crazy. We'll check in on that as it's around the 2-minute timeout, and then we'll get to the defensive superlatives for BYU football heading into the 2025 season. It's Cougar Sports Saturday, and it's powered by KSL Sports.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs From voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery. So he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
My teen's going back to school. You know what that means. Money for new clothes, supplies, and taco runs with friends. I want him to manage his money wisely, so I opened a Learn and Earn account from Cyprus Credit Union. He can build budgeting, saving, and spending skills, and get up to $200 for making financial independence a priority. Learn more at cypruscu.com.
Cyprus Credit Union, your future is our future.
Insured by NCUA.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs. You sound very... Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees. Ooma. Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. KSL News Time, 1:23 p.m. Coming to you live from Broadcast House here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Mitch Harper with you. We broke down the offense, some superlatives heading into the BYU football season, which is 1 week away. BYU and Portland State kicks off at 6 o'clock. You can listen to the game here on KSL News Radio, the KSL News Radio app, KSL Sports app, and we will have coverage starting up next week at noon here on KSL. Deep cut guy who can make an impact for this BYU football team in 2025. Here's a name for you, and I've been singing his praises, I'd say a good amount, for some time. I did a story on him last year during my return missionary story. He returned from a mission last year, gray-shirted last season. He's Cannon DeVries, and Cannon DeVries joined the cornerback unit this season. He, was a high school guy. He was a safety. He's now a cornerback. I could see him competing for some time at nickel this year. Cannon DeVries is one to watch. We saw him at times in fall camp get some first-team run at that inside cornerback position. So keep an eye on Cannon DeVries, a true freshman out of Weber High School. He will be an excellent player for BYU, and he's someone that's not afraid to make a big tackle, but he's also got good speed too. He'll be a good one for the Cougars. And he's had a little bit more time than your typical return missionary as he gray-shirted last season. So he's had enough time to really get settled in, avoid maybe that missionary wall that you tend to see. So keep an eye on Canada Freeze. Biggest depth chart mover, I'm going to go with Che Bryant-Strother. He and Sialia Serra are, competing for that Mike linebacker spot. I would still say Siali's probably the starter, I would think. But wouldn't shock me if Che Bryant-Strother ends up playing the most snaps in a given game. But Bryant-Strother has really been coming on strong to where he and Siale are kind of interchanging in that first-team defense alongside Glasgow and Jack Kelly. So Bryant-Strother, of course, second season after transferring in from UCLA, the younger brother to Elijah Bryant. Keep an eye on Che Bryant-Strother at that Mike linebacker position. Most improved player on the defensive side for BYU football, I'm going to go with Maury Bamba. Maury Bamba has to be the number one cornerback for the Cougars this year, and he's going to be, I think he's going to live up to that. And I've always kind of felt that measurables alone, he's got an NFL build. And now it's time to put out the film that says he can be an NFL guy. And he's got that chance in front of him. I think he benefits greatly from getting this medical redshirt year, extra year of eligibility. Last year in November, he thought he was going to be done. Going through senior night, Houston game, it was the last ride. And then he gets a medical redshirt year, and he's back. And that was, honestly, in retrospect, a huge addition to get him back because he's probably cornerback one for BYU this year, but he's going to be the most improved guy. General Guilford told me that it's probably cornerback by committee this year, but Maury Bamba separates himself from the pack as the number one guy. Best player on defense. There's some good options here. Tanavasa, Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasgow. But I am going to go with Glasgow. I think Isaiah Glasgow is the best player on this team. Isaiah Glasgow, he's going to be at that Sam linebacker position, 6'5", great size. He's an NFL linebacker, man. 6'5", and just fantastic. 70 tackles a season ago, led the Big 12 in tackles for loss. Glasgow's a playmaker, and I love the pairing, the dynamic duo of Glasgow and Jack Kelly at linebacker. Kelly handles that rover spot. Glasgow, the Sam. When I asked him if there's like a nickname for those two as a duo, he said that Jack Kelly is nicknamed Jelly on the team. Obviously, play off his name. So he said maybe I'm peanut butter. Yes, peanut butter and jelly. Makes sense. Those two they play well off each other, though. I think they're going to be great this season. But Glasgow, to me, is the best of the bunch. I think Keanu Tanavasa is the leader up front as far as that voice when adversity hits the fan. He's got to be the one that rallies the team. But just the best player is Glasgow. And huge expectations for him this season as he's going to be an excellent player. And look, the thing that's exciting about Glasgow is that if he wanted to, he could run it back next season. He's only a redshirt junior. But I kind of look at this year potentially as the last ride for Glasgow just because he is a little bit older. He's redshirted. He's taken his time at BYU. It feels like this could be a really good season for him, but he's got options. And in the rev share era and NIL collectives, you could still make a nice bag at BYU. We know that. But I think that Glasgow is going to be really awesome this year, and to the point where I think NFL teams are going to be excited at the prospects of getting someone like Glasgow. So he's my best player on the defensive side for BYU football entering the 2025 season. Do you agree with that? You can weigh in 57500. I also want to hear from you. You've been sending your texts throughout the day. What are your thoughts on Bear Bachmeier being named QB1 as a true freshman? How is this going to go for BYU football beginning next week with a true freshman calling the shots for this BYU offense? Text us 57500, and we'll read your text throughout the show. And speaking of fans and listeners, how did your fandom with BYU football begin? It's a simple question, but everyone's got a story. I want to hear some of your comments on that as well, and we got a bunch of feedback from fans this week on this topic. We'll hit on that next and bring in producer Nate Slack to discuss his fandom as well. It's Cougar Sports Saturday, and it's powered by KSL Sports and KSLSports.com.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
1:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small with our top stories this half hour. Draper City workers just patched up and finished up a water leak near 115th South and 700 West. Crew said they ran into unexpected complications overnight, but they said that water has been restored to the service area. They say this leak is different than the one they previously worked on, but just affected the same general area. Crews are still working to contain a fire burning in the hills above Mapleton. As of last update, it's burned about 50 acres, but it's not threatening homes. Investigators say they believe the fire is human-caused, and they say they've identified the kids they believe are responsible. Their investigation is ongoing. We're also getting details about a serious accident that happened in Logan Canyon this morning. Utah Highway Patrol says a single vehicle rolled and the driver received significant injuries. The driver was life-flighted to the hospital. Troopers are now investigating drowsy driving as a potential factor in the crash. And our top national story this hour from ABC News, a group backed by the United Nations has released a report on starvation in the Gaza Strip.
The 59-page report finding that more than 500,000 people across the Gaza Strip are facing catastrophic conditions of starvation, destitution, and death, adding that 132,000 children under the age of 5 are at risk of death from acute malnutrition. Israel quickly responding to the report, firmly rejecting the claim of famine, saying it is biased and based on Hamas sources, denying there is any starvation in the Strip. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissing the report as an outright lie.
ABC foreign correspondent Lama Hassan reporting. Coming up, staying hot and dry today, but we finally have some rain right around the corner. We'll take a look at the forecast next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Limited time. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Right now, the freeways are looking pretty good in terms of delays. But we are seeing some major surface streets with some backups right now. That includes SR 73 as you're heading in over towards Lehigh and American Fork. Pioneer Crossing and 2100 North seeing less delays now, but we are still now seeing a lot of busy traffic right now on State Street in Orem. Moving up into Salt Lake County, Mountain View seeing scattered delays. Those have cleared up a lot for the most part in the last hour or so. We are still seeing some delays as you're approaching the stop at 3500 South. Right now, also still seeing some slow and go delays northbound I-15 in Davis County as you're approaching the Park Lane exit in Farmington. Step back in time at the Utah Renaissance Fair today. Enjoy exotic foods, performers, and artisan treasures. Get your tickets now at utahrenfair.org. Let the adventure begin. KSL weather forecasted high of 97 degrees today, working our way down to an overnight low in the 70s. We're back up to 92 tomorrow with a better than 50-50 chance of thunderstorms, and then upwards of an 80% chance of storms by Monday with highs in the upper 80s. Right now, reached the forecasted daily high of 97 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small at KSL News Radio 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
We've got a final in Dublin, Ireland. All Big 12 showdown in the Aer Lingus Classic. Iowa State, number 22 Cyclones take down number 17 Kansas State 24-21. Kansas State was 1 of 4 on fourth downs. Iowa State was 3 of 3. The Cyclones get the big dub. Matt Campbell raising that glass helmet trophy. Looks pretty cool. They're right now in Ireland. So Iowa State gets to win 24-21. They go to 1-0 now in Big 12 play. Not only is that a big win to start a season, but you're now in the win column already in conference play. That's big time for the Cyclones, and it's only August 23rd, and they're atop the Big 12 standings, and K-State falls to the bottom. And K-State was the favorite, so as you would expect, Big 12, when you think you know, it will just, when you're zigging, they're going to zag. That's the Big 12. Nothing is predictable in this league, and that's why we enjoy it. Let's discuss now a question that I posed and teased in the previous segment. How did your fandom with BYU football begin? I had a lot of good interaction with this during the week on Cougar Tracks, and I wanted to bring it over to Cougar Sports Saturday because it's a fun topic. And as you hear in the show open, this is a show for fans by fans on Cougar Sports Saturday. And a lot of good interactions on X and a lot of good stories from the fans. And I bring in my producer, Nate Slack, who's also a diehard Cougar fan as well. And Nate, I'm curious. It's a simple question, but there's so many stories. Everyone's got a story of how they became a fan of BYU and BYU football in particular. What about for you? How did your fandom with BYU football begin?
Yeah, mine's I think a lot. It's pretty similar to a lot of people where I just grew up in it. So my dad grew up in St. George, and him and his dad would travel to Provo. So his dad, my grandpa, would travel to Provo for games without any tickets, and they would buy from scalpers and just kind of see where they sat. If BYU lost, my grandpa would be really upset until about Tuesday or Wednesday the next week. But the earliest games I can remember, I've had season tickets since I was 2 years old. So my dad was a trooper bringing me to games and changing my diaper in the middle of crucial plays. But it's just something I've always grown up around, and it's something I wanted to also do for my son. So we've been taking him to games since he was just a baby. Earliest game I can remember is the 2002 Utah game. I was in the stands. And I just
at Rice Eccles.
At Rice Eccles.
Wow.
Yeah, I went with some family members who were Utah fans, and I just remember how frustrated I was because we were just getting some comments and stuff, and I'm sure it wasn't as bad as what I remember. But being a little kid and just being upset about the loss, it hurt my soul. And so ever since then, I've just been locked in. It's kind of funny when you talk about your background and reading, the Phil Steele magazines and stuff growing up. I've still got the Cougar Illustrated from BYU USC in 2004 and the Notre Dame game.
Nice.
All sorts of stuff. So it runs deep. I've been a fan my whole life, but it's a lot of it's just the family ties with my grandpa, my dad. We had season tickets together, so it goes back a long ways.
That's really cool. Again, he's Nate Slack. You can follow him on X, Nate Slack 5 on X, formerly Twitter. And I bring up this question, too, about BYU football fandom because being a BYU fan is not easy. And it's not just solely about the outcomes of games. And BYU has given BYU fans a lot of highs, but, man, there's been some lows. There's no denying it. There's been times where fans probably want to be done and hang it up and go, why do I put myself through this torture? But I say it's not easy, Nate, because when you wear BYU gear, you're kind of painted a certain way, whether that's right or wrong. Like it comes with like there's just like a set sort of views people have of you. Oh, you're a BYU fan. Whether it might be a good impression or might be a bad. It comes with a lot of pressure. And so I'm intrigued how people get, connected to BYU sports, because it could be through the faith. It could be through mom and dad were alums. It could be through they just love the style of play of BYU football growing up. I just think there's so many different ways to kind of connect, and I think it's been fun to see kind of the interaction on social media. A former BYU player, Kyle Griffiths, he tweeted at me, and keep in mind, Kyle, his goal in life is to be the future head coach at BYU. I won't forget that, Kyle. He said that's his goal in life is to one day be the future BYU football head coach. He writes in on X, the first clothes I wore were BYU. My entire room was decorated BYU blue from the day I was born until my mission. First big memory was watching Harleen catch the ball to beat the Utes. Watched the game with Scott Mitchell and ran up to him and yelled the BYU fight song. I was 11. Oh, man, that's a throwback, Scott. Let's see here. We've also got, Jeff Price writes, I watched games on satellite TV my whole childhood with my parents, grandparents, and other relatives. We'd eat and cheer on. My grandma would get excited for a play and stand up cheering quicker than all of us. Then she'd return to her needlepoint work. That reminds me of there used to be a basketball season ticket holder. Do you remember this lady? She would be knitting. She was the lady that would always knit at basketball games. I don't know if you remember this woman.
No, I don't.
She was always at basketball. So when this fan says the knitting, I just remember that BYU basketball fan who always did that. But yeah, BYU fandom is, I think, a point of pride for people where it just it brings you together as fans. You kind of feel part of something. And I think more and more than ever before in this society where it can be very divisive, it can be very isolated, where people are turning just to social media apps and things to connect. Fandom can bring people together, and it's just really a fun experience, and we're 1 week away from people really reconnecting with their fandom on game days.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. It's fun, and one of my favorite things is going to away games, too, and just kind of getting that connection with different people who you've never seen before, you've never met, and just kind of give them a little head nod, go Cougs, and it's just fun because I feel like a lot of us have the same story, but all obviously different experiences and recollections that come with those.
I want to ask you this. There was one fan, I'm trying to find the exact tweet or post rather, that said he was a former BYU fan, but then he converted to the Utes. I feel like I've seen in my lifetime, there are people that I went to high school with that are now, that when I was in high school, they were BYU fans, but now they're Utes. Have you ever experienced the opposite? Like the Keanu Tanavasa thing where you go from Utah to BYU. I don't feel like I've seen that. Like, that's the thing about BYU fandom is that it's not easy to be a BYU fan. So people sometimes will jump ship because it's the week sometimes. That's how I paint it. And I get it. You go to undergrad, you maybe grad school, maybe it splits the fandom a little, but still, to your core, you go to what you know. And I just never see Ute fans flip to blue. I sometimes see BYU fans flip to red, though, and I don't understand that at all.
No way. My brother-in-law, I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to dox him over the webs. But, my brother-in-law, he said he was a big BYU fan that 2006 season with Beck to Harleen, and he said he was just going nuts. And now he's a diehard Utah fan, and he loves to trash talk at family events. But, yeah, I can't think of any friends or family I have who flip from BYU to Utah. It's always Utah to BYU.
It is. And BYU Dude 7 on X writes, born in BYU pajamas, Parents met at BYU, grew up in California listening to b-ball games on the radio and watching football games on TV with the whole family. I was old enough to become passionate about it myself when John Beck and Travis Hansen were at the helm for the respective BYU teams. Very cool. Let's see. Treg Anderson says, the Miracle Bowl is what introduced me to BYU football when I was in high school in Idaho. Tim Knight, who was 2 years ahead of me in high school, played for BYU and had great success until his injury. My first year at BYU was 1984. I have been a huge fan ever since. Jazz_fan90 says, it all began when my father took me as a little tyke to watch Ty Detmer and the BYU Cougars. I loved going to the pregame tailgate with him. It was a way for us to bond. I enjoyed seeing the WAC battles. I looked up to John Walsh and Steve Sarkisian. That's cool. The bringing the family bond stuff, that's always cool too, because I think that's one of the things I love about college football. Basketball is great. I love BYU basketball games, going to those at the Marriott Center. But football is different because it's a whole day event. It's like 8 hours. Even if I'm not in the media, you're in the stands at LES. It is a long day, but it's a rewarding day. You wait all year for those 6 days. It's stuff that you do with your dad, with your son. Like, that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I think about what I grew up with versus what my son's going to be growing up with. When I was going to snow games against Colorado State and Boise State. And my son's going to grow up a fan of a school in the Big 12, and they've got one of the best basketball teams in the country, and it just doesn't seem very fair. I had to battle through independence throughout high school and junior high, but, man, it's all part of the ride.
Garth tweets in, never was a fan of BYU. I'm LDS. I'm an RM, MPA at BYU, active church member, not a fan. Okay, thanks, Garth. Thanks for chiming in on that then. Appreciate that. Let's see. True Blue Cougar tweets, BYU beating OU in Dallas. See, that's pretty cool to hear those sort of stories, too, because, some of them are a lot of, fans, maybe the 80s, the 90s. There's been moments, too, in the late 2000s and now the 2020s that I think are creating new fandom. I think for a full decade, Nate, is my belief, like the 2010s, it was kind of hard to maybe, create a new generation of BYU fans. And I know you're probably thinking, it's, you got to be loyal, and I get that. But a lot of people, if you want to create fandom, you got to win. And during independence, like we saw it step by step, and there were some great wins, don't get me wrong. But as far as having national impact, BYU didn't have many of those seasons that really made a dent in the national landscape to really inspire and create a new generation of fans. I look at last year, that ride to 9-0, I think that's probably going to be a moment where 10 years from now, we'll have a bunch of people say that 2024 season was awesome. That made me a fan for life because it gave you the hope and the belief that BYU could do something special. I think that's all that Cougar fans want. BYU fans get painted as this group of people that are like, oh, they have unrealistic expectations. They're already anointing Bear as the next Tom Brady. No, they're not. They are not. But what they do want is the hope, the access, the chance to do something great. Because BYU, when given the access and the tools to make it happen, they'll do something great with it. And it's just give them the chance to go make it happen. And they want to go through that process with the team and experience it every step of the way. That's all Cougar fans want, is that hope that every year you got a chance to do something great and put out a good product in the process too. I think there is a high standard of play of how BYU plays on the field. Cougar fans do want that. But I just don't ever get the impression that BYU fans anymore in this climate of college football expect, we got to win the national championship every year. I never get that vibe from Cougar fans.
No, and I think a lot of that changed during independence. And it's probably easier to say it now, but looking back at it, the argument was always, BYU's not playing for anything. And I think, BYU fans and media members would say, that's not totally true. But kind of looking back at it, maybe they were right.
Absolutely was.
If you lose a game or two, you're all of a sudden, exactly what bowl game you're going to, who you're probably going to end up playing in the bowl game. There was no question BYU's going to be playing Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl in 2019.
Yeah.
But it was hard for fans to get into that. And I think this new era of BYU being in the Big 12 Conference and having something to play for, it doesn't only motivate the fans, but I think it also motivates the coaches and the players because they've taken this step to another level as well. And I think the donors as well. But I think BYU just moving from independence to the Big 12, it's been a huge step for the entire program and everybody who's affiliated with it.
It's exciting times for BYU football. There's no doubt about that, because even this year, whatever ends up happening with Bear Bachmeier at quarterback this season, I still think the program is in a good place long term. You think about the recruiting class that they've got. It's a top 20 recruiting class right now for 2026. This program's on good footing to where they're doing things they haven't done in a very long time, and that's pretty exciting. And I can only imagine that this fan base, and then you pair it up with the game day atmospheres. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. But I think there's some really good things happening for BYU football right now that create maybe a new generation of fans and fandom for Cougar fans going forward. Let's take a break. We'll get to Cougar Tales next, some news and notes throughout the week in the world of BYU sports right here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Worried about market losses? If headlines are keeping you up at night, it's time to take control. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know you've worked hard to save. But in times like these, what if can turn into what now? If you're planning to retire or are in retirement, you need a strategy that helps protect your future. At Trajan Wealth, you can capture market gains, protect your account from losses, and guarantee income for life. Right now, you could receive a bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. You heard me right. An upfront bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10%, all guaranteed to boost your lifetime income in retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Plan with confidence. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, DBA, in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can easily find the right home insurance for you, even if it's not with Progressive. But if you don't choose us, then sure, okay, it's not going to work out. We're not going to cry about it or stay awake wondering what our future together would have looked like. We can't get emotionally invested even if it sounds like we are. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer allows you to easily compare home insurance rates and coverages in one place, even if it's not with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. I love you. I shouldn't have said that.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-475-1818. That's 800-475-1818.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
The Garden Restaurant has been open for a few months, and if you haven't stopped by, now is the time to check it out. Open weekdays 11 to 3. Fresh flavors, iconic location. The Garden Restaurant.
Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you in Broadcast House. Iowa State just took down K-State 24-21. Iowa State 1-0 in Big 12 play. Rocco Becht, the MVP of the Ireland game over there across the pond. And next year it'll be TCU, North Carolina, in Ireland, so another Big 12 team going to be in action. Maybe one day we see BYU playing a game across the pond. I'd be a fan of that. What about you, Nate?
I'd be fine with it. Depends on who they're playing, though. If it's going to be a rivalry game like Iowa State, Kansas State, I'm not super in favor of it. I think that would be closer to like a BYU, Boise State being played in Ireland. I wouldn't be too big of that. But if there was a game against like Navy or somebody, I'd be okay with that.
I would like to see BYU play an international game in Mexico. I just feel like BYU would bring out tons of fans. I think the only problem that BYU faces with these international games is that it seems like the international games are centered around a lot of Guinness, a lot of adult beverages, and I'll tell you what, BYU fans, spoiler, they're not going to be filling up the pubs, but they will fill up the stadium, and that was a great scene between Iowa State and K-State fans. I was a little worried. I thought, that's probably going to be a half-empty stadium because BYU fans outdrew Iowa State fans in Arlington at the Big 12 championship game, and so I was not bullish on the prospects of those fan bases showing up. K-State I was optimistic about, but Iowa State had a great turnout too, and now they're celebrating in the streets in Ireland and going to fill up those pubs and take some victory brews celebrating the Cyclone victory. Let's get to some Cougar Tales, some news and notes throughout the week that you might have missed. And what do we got on deck, Nate?
Yeah, starting out with Ryder Lyons, BYU's 5-star quarterback commit. He's playing on ESPN tonight for Folsom High School's season opener.
Cannot wait. 8:30 kick against Grant Union High. Last year, Ryder Lyons in his junior season at Folsom, they got to the regional finals in the playoffs. So he's looking to get his team back to another state championship. But national stage for Ryder Lyons, and honestly, the BYU brand. Think about the A.J. DeBonsa games where he was on a national spotlight. BYU was always getting brought up. Another opportunity for BYU's brand to be connected to a high-profile recruit. So I will be tuning in tonight. I'm having flashbacks, too, though, of when, remember Jake Heaps played?
Yep.
It was, what was the school? He was at Sammamish. I can't remember what that high school was now. He was in a green uniform. It's drawn a blank, but he went up against Oaks Christian from California with Zach Stout, Alani Fua, and I remember being just tuned into that game and watching it. So big game tonight for Folsom and Ryder Lyons.
Yeah, Skyline High School for Jake Heaps.
Skyline. Okay.
For Ryder Lyons, really quick, there's a potential quarterback battle for Barry Bachmeier's junior season when Ryder's going to be a freshman. Is that something you're already thinking about, or just kind of play the season now and we'll wait till that happens?
Yeah, you just play year by year. You just got to wait year by year, but I think you give Ryder Lyons every opportunity to play as a true freshman. Yeah. That's just he's that talented of a football player. He is a special talent, but you play it year by year. You just don't know how things are going to evolve with the quarterback position in particular.
There's a couple former BYU players playing in preseason games. One's going on right now, actually, with Keaton Slovis. We'll touch on him really fast. First off, I mean, is Keaton Slovis a BYU guy? It's kind of weird how his career ended. Obviously, he only played half a season at BYU. Do you still consider him a BYU guy?
I do. I think, you have to, because honestly, when you go to his NFL profile, it says it's college, BYU. Like the last school that gets these players, that's their school they're connected to. And yeah, I think he's a BYU guy. And I thought Keaton embraced BYU, and I think he did everything in his power to have a successful one season. We all knew it was going to be probably tough, and it just didn't work out. He wasn't a dual threat guy, and that team had some shortcomings, and it was a new roster. But yeah, I look at Keaton but it's not the same connection like Jaron, like Zach. But yeah, I hope Keaton does well. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. Keaton Slovis, 11 of 16 today against the Detroit Lions in their third preseason game. 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And then the last one, Tyler Batty gave a pregame speech last night for the Vikings, but he injured his right knee. Sounds like he's going to have an MRI, but hoping the best for Tyler Batty.
Isn't that pretty cool, though, as a undrafted rookie to be giving the pregame speech? I know it's preseason, but doesn't that feel like an unofficial way of saying you will make this roster?
Oh, 100%.
If you're getting that opportunity, that seems kind of significant to me. Hopefully he has a quick recovery and is okay. But, yeah, Tyler Batty, good stuff there from him. Keaton Slovis, hopefully he can stick with the Houston Texans. Hopefully ETN with the Bengals. There's some BYU guys in the NFL. Hopefully can get that number up. And hopefully in the future years, there's more NFL draft picks coming from BYU. And maybe long down the road, maybe Ryder Lyons can be that guy for the Cougars way down the road. But we'll get to see him tonight in action with Folsom High on ESPN, 8:30 kick. Coming up next here on Cougar Sports Saturday, we'll get to a Power 4 conference that changed up its scheduling rules and maybe what it means for BYU in the future. This is Cougar Sports Saturday, and it's powered by KSL Sports.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Not good enough, not complying with the subpoena, he says. 97% of the over 30,000 Jeffrey Epstein files turned over by the Justice Department to the House Oversight Committee are documents already made public in the past, says the top Democrat on the panel, California Congressman Robert Garcia. He says that doesn't meet the department's legal obligation to provide full, uncensored, nothing left out documents to the committee. Israel keeps denying that anyone is starving to death in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu calling a report of starvation and destitution in Gaza by a UN-backed organization a lie, filled with Hamas sources. She has seen photo evidence of children who are skin and bones, says Executive Director of the United Nations Relief Agency, Mark Cronenfeld.
Already over 130 children have died of malnutrition.
The 59-page report finding that more than 500,000 people across the Gaza Strip are facing catastrophic conditions of starvation, destitution, and death, adding that 132,000 children under the age of 5 are at risk of death from acute malnutrition.
ABC's Lama Hassan declaring an evacuation order today for another remote area because of a wildfire. California's Napa County officials, the Picket Fire, the largest local wildfire in 5 years, has been burning 3 days. After a school bus carrying a junior high school football team, parents and school staff crashed this morning in western Pennsylvania. 21 of the 28 people on board were taken to the hospital, say emergency officials.
From what I understand, the bus did fall onto its side. However, it got uprighted as the children were evacuating the school bus.
Police Chief Michael O'Brien in Economy Borough, Beaver County, PA. Though some beaches have reopened along the East Coast after Hurricane Erin, there are still high surf and rip current alerts. Many rescues have been made today off New York City beaches by lifeguards. You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Ever wonder why you have insurance for your car or home, but not your digital life? Meet WebRoot Total Protection, your digital bodyguard that includes antivirus, identity protection, VPN, cloud backup, and more. With plans for individuals and families, WebRoot takes the guessing game out of cybersecurity so you can get back to living your best life online. Go to webroot.com/offer and get 50% off today. That's webroot.com/offer to get 50% off today. Live a better digital life with WebRoot because peace of mind shouldn't be optional.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent from Alpine Home Medical, and I'm humbled to win Utah's Best of State for 2025 for the 15th year in a row. After 28 years, we're all about you. Over 1,700 five-star Google reviews and a 4.8 customer satisfaction score to prove it. We'll keep working hard for you. I've spent this year advocating with lawmakers for better Medicare reimbursement, ensuring you always have the best access to medical supplies you need. From Idaho Falls to St. George, our 11 stores are your home for comfort. When you hear Alpine Home Medical, think of that best of state experience every single time. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Amanda, we live in an age where digital information is so important and never more so than when it comes to business.
Right.
Protecting your information, protecting your client's information, it's so important.
I bet some of our listeners worry about this, but this is why Andy and I want to tell you about Les Olson IT. That name is probably familiar to you if you've lived here at all.
Yeah, they fixed your copiers for years.
Sure, that's where you bought your computers and your printers and all of that, but now they can act as your help desk.
Yeah, so they can give you 24/7 help desk support to fix problems as they happen. But the great thing Les Olson IT can also do is prepare you for the future because you don't want to get caught If you do, though, they're ready for you.
They're ready for you. So they'll help you protect you from ransomware and phishing and, maintain your servers, your workstations. They'll be there, and they'll be there, from Utah. When you talk to Les Olson IT, you're talking to a tech in Utah.
That means customized IT service agreements for whatever your specific needs are. They've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas and online at lesolson.com.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 3 is off and running here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Hope you're having a great weekend. Hopefully all your kids are settled into back to school. I know my kids had back to school this week, and it's a whirlwind, man. You realize, getting back to the grind of school, getting school lunches ready, making sure all the logistics are tied up, getting everything back to order as we're back to the grind with school, and then also with football season back as well. We're 1 week away until BYU football is back in action when they take on Portland State next week. And in BYU's schedule, as a member of the Big 12, entering year 3 in this league, they play 9 conference games and 3 out-of-conference games. That's been the operating procedure in the Big 12 since 2011. That's 14 years ago. The Big 12's been ahead of the curve on 9 conference games for a long time. The big bad SEC that self-appoints itself as the number 1 conference. And look, I understand the resources, it just means more. There's a lot to like about the SEC, but they haven't had a team play for the national championship in 2 years now. So they can't say that they're atop the mountain right now. But the SEC announced that they are moving to a 9-game conference schedule beginning in 2026. And they are also required to play 1 Power 4 opponent each year. So it begs the question, could this give a team like BYU, who's in a Power 4 league, more chances at playing SEC teams? I look at this, and you look at the future schedules for BYU, they've got a home game against Missouri lined up in 2035. That's 10 years from now. That's the return visit from the 2015 game. So we're at the midway point this year. Got another 10 years until BYU hosts Missouri. Look, I look at this 9-game conference schedule thing for the SEC, and the only thing that kind of I point to with this is that they have to know what the next iteration of the playoff beginning in 2026 is going to look like. Remember, the SEC and the Big Ten have control of determining the structure of the future college football playoff format beginning in 2026. Last week, we discussed how there were reports of a 2018 playoff with automatic bids given to the Big Ten and SEC, upwards to 7 bids per conference and 5 each for the Big 12 and ACC. I got to think the SEC knows between them and the Big Ten what the next playoff model is going to be. They have the deadline for next year's playoff at December 1st. They have to have that finalized before then. And the SEC was very proud of its 8-game conference schedule, saying it's the toughest in the country. No one can contend with the SEC schedule, this and that. To me, I fear that we're going to go to a college football playoff model where it's tiered, where the SEC and the Big Ten get the most automatic bids, and then the Big 12 and the ACC are a level below them, and then group of 6 and so on. That is how I interpret this 9-game conference schedule. Because if it was only going to a 16-team model with the playoff and it's 5 automatic bids plus 11 at-large bids, which is what the Big 12 administrators and coaches want, I don't think the SEC makes this move. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I think that we will see the 5 plus 11 model, but I fear that this is a quiet move by the SEC going to a 9-game conference schedule that says we're going to that model that just caters to the SEC and the Big Ten with the automatic bids, and the Big 12 and the ACC are on a second tier, and maybe the SEC and the Big Ten just start scheduling each other in non-conference. I'm not optimistic that the BYUs of the world are going to get many SEC teams in the future. Look, it never really happened until independence, honestly. There was Mississippi State home and homes, and at the end of Lavelle's tenure in that 2001 game in Starkville, there was that one-off against Alabama in 1998. You know, there were some moments against SEC teams, but primarily most of them took place in the independence era. Missouri, as I noted, Ole Miss, Mississippi State again. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some of the other SEC matchups that BYU's had. LSU in 2017. There's been a lot of SEC matchups for BYU as an independent, but now they've kind of evaporated. And you look at the future schedules for BYU, as I noted, only one SEC team in the future. That's 10 years from now. There was a home and home with Ole Miss. That's gone. They lost the game with Tennessee. Tennessee backed down to schedule Virginia on a neutral field in Nashville, which is closer to Knoxville. So this doesn't give me more hope that BYU is going to get SEC teams in the future. Unless, of course, we go to a world where Kalani Sitake's dream of one ACC, one Big Ten, one SEC opponent for Big 12 teams is the non-conference, and we can get some uniformity with how all these power conference teams schedule in the non-conference. See, that's the issue with college football, is that you don't have anything equal. Now we're starting to see the conferences line up and say 9 conference games. SEC's on board. Big Ten's already been on board since, I think, 2015. And then the Big 12 started the trend back in 2011. The ACC is still going with an 8-game conference schedule. We'll see if they change their tune beginning next year. But we need some uniformity in the sport if we're going to have a real sense of who are the best teams. And I think it would be great if we could get one non-conference game against each of the conferences and then rotate it and just schedule them out, 10, 20 years in advance. Say you're going to play a team from all these power conferences every year and schedule them home and home. I think that's the best way to figure this thing out and really gauge who the best conferences are. I just hope, though, we don't see where this move by the SEC leads to them in the Big Ten getting more automatic bids than the Big 12 and the ACC. In the world of rev share and NIL collective still playing a role, why can't there be a team like Texas Tech that's going to pony up big money on their roster? Why can't they emerge as a really good football team? Why can there not be a few years down the road where the Big 12, by the metrics, is better than the Big 10? It could happen. It's not unthinkable. I mean, the Big 10 is great at the top with the Ohio States. Michigan won a title 2 years ago. Now, that's a little bit under fire, of course, with that scandal. But, the Big 10's really good at the top, but I like the depth of the Big 12 compared to the Big 10. Maybe they got more name brand programs in the Big 10 with the Penn States of the world. But I would take the middle and the bottom of the Big 12 over the Big 10. And why can't the Big 12 become a better overall league by the metrics in the future? It's not unthinkable. It could happen. So that's what, to me, I look at with this move as this potentially leading to. I hope it doesn't. Hope it's more based on at-large bids, and then there's set criteria for the College Football Playoff Committee, which they did lay out this week, how they're going to piece together the field, and they're going to focus more on things like strength of record. And had they utilized that metric last year, strength of record would have benefited BYU. BYU had the 7th best strength of record in college football last season. And if that would have been a metric that was more heavily weighted into fielding a 12-team bracket, maybe BYU cracks into that thing with a win over a team like SMU, but BYU was never considered. They just didn't get the benefit of the doubt from anyone. The committee, the pollsters, no one. No one took BYU seriously. They were just always labeled, oh, they're the team that's a fluke. They just win close games. No one ever looked at, oh, you hammered Arizona. You hammered Kansas State. You had a huge lead on Baylor. No one ever looked at that. They just said, oh, they win the close games. That's all they do. They just luck out every week. And that was that. It never felt like there was any breakdown of metrics and resume when it came to BYU. Now that there's maybe some clear metrics that the committee looks at, there's now a path towards fielding out and getting an idea, like the NCAA basketball tournament, of what it takes to actually reach the field. But the SEC moving to a 9-game schedule will be interesting to see what ripple effects it does have on the sport at large. Let's take a break. And speaking of the college football playoff, last year I gave you my predictions for the playoff. I'll do it again this year. You can hold me accountable coming up in December, but I'm going to give you my 2025 college football playoff field next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
At Intermountain Health, we believe life is a circle. May yours surround you with insight, a healthy perspective, trust, and reassurance. The belief that our differences aren't that different, and compassion just when you need it most. Life is a circle. May yours help you live the healthiest life possible. Intermountain Health.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you can tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
College football playoff has a new seeding model this year in 2025. Again, this is Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper with you. Last year, the highest-ranked conference champions got first-round byes. This year, it's straight seeding. So, depending on how the selection committee ranks these teams, that's how the bracket will look. There's still automatic bids for the 5 conference champions, but however they fit in the rankings, that's how it fits, and then they just slide into their appropriate seed. This is my bracket for the college football playoff in 2025. The 5 auto bid teams that I'm going with this year. That would be conference champions. I'm going to go with, in the SEC, Texas. The Texas Longhorns. I think they're going to have a really good season with Arch Manning at quarterback. Texas defensively is excellent. They've been knocking on the doorstep the past 2 years with Steve Sarkisian as their head coach. Huge game next week at Ohio State, 10 a.m. game. But I think Texas is going to win the SEC this year in only year 2 in that league. The team I think they're going to beat next week, I think is going to also be the Big Ten champ. Ohio State, I've got them as an auto bid. So nothing too shocking so far. Then the rest of the auto bids, I've got the defending ACC champs repeating once again, but I think they might win it all. Clemson, I've got them as an auto bid out of the ACC. I think Clemson is going to be back to those levels that you saw with Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. They are going to be, this is going to be a vintage Dabo Swinney team that is contending for a title. I think Clemson's going to be special this year. And then the 2 other auto bids I've got from the Big 12, I got Texas Tech. And then from the group of 5, I'm going to go with Boise State once again. It's tough with the group of 5 because those rosters get rated more than even the Power 4 because they kind of funnel up to the power ranks. And Boise State has just been consistent year after year. I think a team that could be in the mix for that group of 5 spot if he's, avoiding turnovers is Jake Retzloff and Tulane. Tulane could win the American and maybe get that bid and go to the playoff. How crazy would that be if we see Jake Retzloff in the playoff with Tulane? But I got Boise State winning that auto bid. The at-large teams in my 12-team playoff for 2025. Again, that's 7 at-large teams go into the 12-team bracket. From the SEC, I've got 3 at-large teams. I got Alabama, LSU, Georgia. Alabama is probably the second most talented team behind Texas, in my opinion. But I think people are knocking them just because it's not Nick Saban on the sideline. Seeing them at number 8 in the AP Top 25 was kind of surprising. It's just almost a knock on Kalen DeBoer and that loss they had to Vanderbilt last year. And then they lost a crazy game to Oklahoma, which was unexpected to a very mediocre Oklahoma team. But talent-wise, Alabama is loaded once again. LSU, I've got as an at-large team. Nussmeier at quarterback. I think he might win the Heisman this year. And then Georgia, they're going to be in the mix. They're just quietly a juggernaut holding it down in Athens. The Big Ten, I've got 3, and I've got 2 that you'd probably expect, Penn State and Oregon. Penn State probably got its deepest roster since the days of LeVar Arrington back in the 90s. I remember in 1997 when they opened up against Arizona. That was a huge game. It was a kickoff classic game. I don't recall between 97 and now a season where Penn State had this much preseason hype. But I do think Penn State breaks through once again and gets to the playoff as they did last year and gets in as an at-large bid. Oregon, I've got as an at-large team, and no one's really talking about them, but they went undefeated last year at 13-0 and won the Big Ten. I think Oregon's going to be back in the mix. They got Dante Moore, the UCLA transfer, at quarterback, replacing Dylan Gabriel. So I think Oregon's going to be really good again. And then a sleeper in the Big Ten, I'm going to go with Nebraska. Maybe I'm bought in too much into the aura of Patrick Mahomes Jr., Dylan Raiola, but I think Nebraska's got a schedule that's kind of what you expect from a Big Ten team that it fits the billing of what Indiana was last year, where you feel like they're maybe a little bit fraudulent. Indiana was really good, and I honestly considered putting Indiana in this field. I think they're going to be better this year. Indiana is. They're, tearing down their non-conference schedule and trying to make it what Kurt Cignetti, their head coach, calls an SEC model. But Nebraska, I think, breaks through with Matt Rule. He seems to always have a big jump at all the places he's been at. Temple, Baylor, now Nebraska. I think Matt Rule is going to take a big leap, and I think the Cornhuskers get to the playoff. And then I do believe the Big 12 gets a second team into the playoff, and I'm going to go with TCU. I'm very high on the Horned Frogs this year. I'm going to say they crack in as that last team. So I'm saying the ACC only gets one team. The Big 12 gets two, and then the Big 10 and the SEC have four. And that's why, again, I don't – and look, this is just a prediction. It could play out differently. But that's why I don't understand why the Big 10 and SEC need automatic bids. Unlike the Big 12 and the ACC, they get the benefit of the doubt. They're starting from a pole position where the AP Top 25 ranks all of their teams. So it's just a self-fulfilling deal where you're beating top 25 teams or only losing to top 25 teams, and then you get the quality loss metric. Whereas the Big 12 teams, they don't get the quality loss metric. How will K-State be viewed if they go 11-1 this season, and their one loss was to Iowa State in Week 0 to a nationally ranked top 25 Iowa State team across the pond? Will they get the benefit of the doubt of a quality loss? That's why I don't understand the we need automatic bids. Your league already gets the benefit of the doubt. We know how this is played. I'd like to think it's different. Maybe these scheduling metrics and strength of record can help maybe prevent just a SEC Big Ten invitational, but I've seen this sport enough to kind of know the trends, and it feels like it'll probably be 4-4 from each of those leagues, and then 2-1 from either the Big Ten or Big 12 and ACC. But I think the Big 12 does get multiple bids this year, and I'm going with Texas Tech and TCU. Texas Tech, I'm still going to lean into them, even though they lost their running back, which is a big blow, the USC transfer. But look, it's the Big 12. Crazy things happen, so why not go with a team like Texas Tech that, quite frankly, hasn't won anything in the Big 12? I mean, honestly, you look at Big Texas Tech's history, they've never won anything. And I'm going to go all in and say that money and oil money is going to lead them to playoff glory by reaching the college football playoff this year. And I think TCU cracks in for the second time in 4 years. They were there in 2022 with Sonny Dykes. And BYU plays both of those teams in back-to-back weeks in November. So that would be kind of fun if BYU has a great record of their own and maybe have playoff implications late in November. That's the great thing about a sport with a big playoff field. I've had more thought about the 2018 playoff model. I'm not completely opposed against that model. I'm not. Only if there's not a boatload of automatic bids. If it was just, 5 or 6 automatic bids to the conference champs and then everything else is at large, I can kind of get on board with it because I won't lie. Seeing some of the hypothetical playoff brackets with a 2018 field, I'm like, those matchups pretty cool. Seeing BYU possibly have a home game in December in a playoff game against a Big Ten ACC team, I'm down. Sign me up for that. That would be pretty awesome. And how would you feel going into a year with Bear Bachmeier at quarterback, true freshman, where it's a 2018 field? You feel like you could really get into that thing. I don't know if Cougar fans are looking at this year as a year you reach the playoff with a true freshman quarterback. Crazier things can happen. Maybe they prove us all wrong and they crack in and get into that playoff. We shall see. The great thing about the Big 12 is that you got access to it. So if you just win your league, you're most likely going to be in the playoff. You're not guaranteed. You still have the group of 5 champions be ranked higher. We saw that last year where Boise State was ranked higher than Arizona State, which was silly, seeing how those playoff games played out. But that's the thing that's fun about the Big 12 is that you've got access to the highest stages of college football. But that's my college football playoff predictions in the 2025 season. I will probably look back on these in December and say, my gosh, those were terrible picks, Mitch. It shows you how optimistic I am about those picks. But I got to give them to you, and I wanted to give those to you as we move forward here on Cougar Sports Saturday. And coming up next, going to talk about game day traditions at LaVell Edwards Stadiums and what we would like to see going forward into the 2025 season on game day at LES. We'll hit on that next here on Cougar Sports Saturday, and it's powered by KSL Sports.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Myth. You might have heard that you need to spend a fortune these days to get a powerful computer. Correction, at PC Laptops, we wanted to prove that wrong. So here's the most amazing deal that we've ever done at PC Laptops for you in over 30 years. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Take one home today. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
You want to see basketball played the way it's supposed to be? Tune in to Ice Cube's Big Three this summer. Watch stars like Dwight Howard, Kemba Walker, Joe Johnson, Michael Beasley, and many more, along with Hall of Fame coaches. Experience the fast pace and physical play and fun action that defines the game. You know what it is. It's the Big Three. Catch the best professional 3-on-3 players in the world live every weekend on CBS and Vice. Yay!
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/today. ethos.com/today.
Right now at SNS Roofing, get $1,000 off any roof replacement. Plus, you'll get their incredible 50-year worry-free warranty. Dial pound 250 and then say the keyword SNS Roofing for a free bid.
The murder of two men forces their families to wrestle with impossible questions. Who is forgiveness for? Does everyone deserve a second chance? Follow Season 2 of The Letter, Ripple Effect, at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, it's me, Flo, here to tell you that with the Progressive Home and Auto Bundle, you get 24/7 protection, so you're covered no matter where the day takes you.
Even bad hair day?
Yep.
And tree branch fell on my car day?
Especially that day. Progressive has you covered 24/7 for your home and auto.
How about thought it was chicken, but it was tuna day? Or overnight construction outside my bedroom day?
Those days too.
Great, because that was each day this week.
Been there. Well, at least your home and auto are covered every day with Progressive.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
I have never been so excited to tune into a Portland State football game. Right now, here in the studio at Broadcast House, Portland State is about to kick off against Tarleton State on ESPN2. We're getting a glimpse of the foe. BYU will face the Vikings next week, 6 o'clock kick here on KSL and ESPN+. So you got to have the paywall service to watch BYU versus Portland State, but your radio is always available, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM, and the KSL News Radio app to listen to BYU and Portland State. But I'm curious to just kind of get some intel, a glimpse of this Portland State personnel. They've got a quarterback debate. They've got Gabe Downing, John Kewe Sagapolotele.
Nice.
He's the brother of the guy that got the starting nod at Cal, CJ Jordan, Tyree Smith, and Crew Newman. It's almost like ESPN knew that we were talking about the battle because they pop up the graphic. But so we'll see who they trot out as their starting QB and how that guy plays, and if he ends up being the QB next week against BYU. And speaking of next week, it'll be inside LaVell Edwards Stadium. First of 6 home games inside LES this season. And look, it's not cheap going to a BYU football game these days. Record-setting pace for ticket sales. The most season ticket sales ever. What was it, 47,000+?
Yeah.
Ticket sales. That's Nate Slack here, producer of the show. Tons of interest into BYU football this year. But earlier in fall camp, I caught up with BYU Associate AD David Almodovar. I had an interview with him with the context of the Cougar kickoff and fan experience, and I asked him if there's going to be some changes and some new look items for game days at LES this year. And David Almodovar kind of teased some new wrinkles potentially this year. This was David earlier in the month.
We are still, I know we're a few weeks out from our first game, but we're still working on things, making sure that we're all approved. So there'll be some wrinkles in this year that I can't divulge right now. We're still working on some other elements that we're hoping come to fruition. If not this year, hopefully for next year. There'll be some twists with different things that we currently do. So, yeah, I'm not going to divulge anything right now because we're just still waiting on a lot of approvals.
Nate, when you hear that, as a fan that sits inside LES on game days in the stands, what are you hoping David and his marketing team are going to produce for game days to enhance the already good game day experience at BYU?
It's already really good. And I started thinking about this morning. And I thought, what could possibly be done to kind of up the game day atmosphere for BYU? And I've got one answer. And it's something that you went to the Kansas game in 2023, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So one of my favorite things back when BYU was in the Mountain West was playing Air Force, and they had a flyover every time the Air Force came in the stadium.
Yes.
And when we went to the BYU Kansas game in 2023, there was a flyover. Oh, man. Portland State just gave up a big, deep touchdown pass.
If Bear doesn't do that, man, Portland State, jeez. Anyway, continue.
Anyways, so Kansas, BYU Kansas game 2023. Kansas started out with a flyover, and we talked to some fans next to us, and they said that Kansas has a flyover before every game because they're so close to an Air Force base, which is actually farther than BYU is from Hill Air Force Base. And they did a second lap, and it came back around the stadium again. So my wish is that BYU would start to have more frequent flyovers as part of the game day atmosphere.
I love that, and I'm sure somewhere Dave McCann is very happy with
Yes.
your take.
Yes.
And you bring up that Kansas flyover, and I'm glad you bring that up because that was the greatest flyover I've ever felt.
Oh, 100%.
At a game, any sporting events. It was incredible, that flyover. And you were there too. I felt like the press box was shaking, and it just felt so cool. I mean, it was almost a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's like, wow, the patriotism behind that flyover, it was so cool. I love that. That's a great pull. I honestly forgot about that because, and then you started talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that was an amazing flyover. Flyovers would be cool. When was the last BYU flyover? I know there was one in 2019, BYU Utah.
BYU Utah 2021 as well.
Oh, that's right.
I think that was the last
9/11 game.
Yeah.
That was September 11th, so there was a lot of patriotism that day. That was the 20th anniversary, too, that day when BYU and Utah squared off in 2021. But, yeah, I think flyovers would be great. I'm honestly wondering what more BYU needs to do, though, Nate, with the game day experience that David Almodovar could be teasing, because you think about it, since 2019, and I bring that up as a starting point because that's when I started here at KSL. They added Cougar Canyon. They've had enhanced Wi-Fi. I think that was 2017 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
New scoreboards. They've added some corporate elements, and I know there's mixed reviews on that, but now that we're settling into rev share, it's just part of the deal. You got to have some corporate seating and some accommodations to those people that are paying the pretty pennies. I mean, I don't know. What do you think they can add more? Is it maybe enhanced luxury seating, not necessarily boxes, but some enhanced quality seats, maybe wider, a little more cushion? I don't know what, honestly, more they can do other than maybe giving a facelift to the stadium on the exterior, but that doesn't necessarily enhance the game day production, because I will say Cougar fans are entertained throughout an entire BYU game. There's stuff, timeouts, everything is happening during a BYU game.
Yeah, I think with him saying that there's still some things in the works that they're trying to get finalized, it makes me think there's probably some kind of permits or applications they have to get in. So maybe Baylor and Texas Tech announced drone shows, and so maybe more frequent drone shows, because those popped in about halfway through the season. Those were pretty cool.
Those were great, and that was a new wrinkle last season that was added. I think there was 2 games where they had the drone show. They had senior night, and then I believe it was also
Oklahoma State.
That's right. That was the Friday night game against the Pokes in October. So yeah, those drone shows are awesome. I thought BYU's was really well done. They had the Sailor Coug logo. It said "Go Cougs." It had all these different visual elements in the drone show. But it is remarkable too when I think about how the game day atmosphere has improved so much, because I remember the days too when there were groups of Cougar fans online that would try to gather together and make a push to just get fans to wear blue more. And I know there's still a desire for more fan apparel. I'm sure there's pockets of the fan base that are still underwhelmed with the offerings, but there's more fan apparel than ever before in royal blue and navy blue if you want to have that. I feel like the fans wear blue more than ever before. They wear more gear. There's more options than ever before. That's good. And just to see how it's all come together, Cosmo's incredible. The Fire Knife dancers are fantastic. I mean, BYU, it's an amazing vibe. When David Almodovar told me that, I said to myself, what more can you do? Because there's a big undertaking already, but I think in this era with climbing prices, let's call it what it is, there's more cost to buy tickets. It's a steeper commitment financially. There is more interest than ever before. You want to keep that interest going, win or lose with BYU football. You want to keep that interest at a high level. What can you do to make it almost like it's a status symbol to be at the game and flex on Instagram and be like an influencer to say, hey, I'm at this event because Cosmo is a big thing. I just think I'm really curious to kind of see what the next iterations of game days look like here this season and see what new wrinkles Almodovar and his team have, because it is quite the spectacle that's gaining like a brand almost in the Big 12 and I think nationally too.
Yeah, I think to your point, one thing that they could do or at least bring back is something they did until the mid-2000s was those Macy football tosses in the parking lot outside the stadium. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And they would have those custom shirts for every single game, and you just throw a football through this metal pole with a fish net around the outside of it. But that's something that could be fun. I think I imagine it's going to be something that is not just entertainment purposes, but I think it's something that makes the fans engage with some kind of activity or game or something of the sort. I'm not sure what it could totally be, but I that's my guess is something down those lines.
I don't partake of it much because I'll admit I'm just up in the press box doing work for media stuff. What's the food offerings like? Because that's an area where maybe they could improve. What's the food selection at LES? Is that gotten better, or because I'll admit I haven't paid much attention on that side of things.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's just the basic stuff. The price has gone up a lot over the last decade or so, but
everything has.
And they have a lot of food trucks. They have some good options. They've got some J-Dogs. They have Costa Vida. They have the place my wife likes to go. It's like a Korean barbecue.
Cup Bop.
Yeah. Yes, Cup Bop. So they've got some options, but I could see them adding something new to it. We talked last week in Cougar Tales about the Cougar Paw potentially coming out, so that like an ice cream bar on a stick, that would be fun. But yeah, I think there's some space, I think, where they could improve the food, so that could be part of it.
I also want to see what they do going forward with Cougar Canyon. I think that's been a success since it started in 2019. I think Cougar Canyon adds to the excitement of a game, the build-up, and I think it's just fun for visiting fans to kind of stroll through. Maybe you can add some more to that. I don't know exactly what you do add, but the band, the stage, the walk through, that Cougar Walk is fun.
They have the backyard too now. So just south of the stadium, so they have all those blow-up toys. Yeah, Helaman Fields. They have the blow-up toys. They have different free foods and stuff for Cougar Club members. So there's a little more than just Cougar Canyon now.
It just makes you realize how big of a lift college football game days and BYU football game days have become. And that's where, again, when you're now faced with a bill, basically a bill of $20.5 million, you don't have to hit that number. And even BYU's President Shane Reese, has said he told me in May they'd be surprised if they hit that number. But still, it's a big undertaking to suddenly be pressed with, you got to pay that back to the athletes, but then still have this massive staff to have the entire operations of a game day, because 6 football game days, it is a lot of work. And so I think I'm excited, though, to see what Almadova and his team with marketing and the associate ADs, what they can put together for game days this year. But BYU football game days, win or lose, I mean, BYU football is a fun event to attend, and I think you're getting your bang for your buck. Like, I know you're paying a lot. I know my dad bought tickets on the west side this year. It's a lot of money, but it's an entertaining product on the field, but also off the field, too. I think it's pretty fun, these BYU football game days. Let's take our final timeout. We'll check in on Portland State. I know we put the Vikings on blast, but they had a wild momentum swing here in this game that looks like it's being played at some high school stadium. We'll hit on the Vikings next and then wrap up the show with some more thoughts on QB1 being Bear Bachmeier.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
It's time to get a new Bernina machine at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Incredible August savings on the Bernina 770 Cape and 700 embroidery closeout machines. And you've got to see the exciting all-new Bernina entry-level and pro lineup machines with limited special introductory pricing. Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on select Bernina sewing, quilting, and embroidery machines and get special free bundles of accessories.
These free gift packages include items such as embroidery kits,
presser feed set,
machine and travel cases,
embroidery software coupons,
books, ruler kits, and lots of accessories.
0% interest for 18 months on certain models. See store for details.
Come in now for bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
And it's on sale.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
The Garden Restaurant has been open for a few months, and if you haven't stopped by, now is the time to check it out. Open weekdays 11 to 3. Fresh flavors, iconic location. The Garden Restaurant.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Here with Nate Slack, Mitch Harper with you. If you missed any part of the show, subscribe to the podcast. Just search Cougar Sports Saturday on all podcast platforms, and also subscribe to Cougar Tracks. Every day, Cougar Tracks is daily now, Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. here on KSL News Radio. We've been watching this Portland State game. They're taking on Tarleton State, a top 10 team Tarleton State is in the FCS ranks. Portland State, they had a heated quarterback battle in fall camp to the point where their head coach, Bruce Barnum, was saying, I don't even know who the starting quarterback's going to be. Well, they did start a guy. It's Gabe Downing, quarterback, sophomore, 6 foot, 185 pounds out of Olympia, Washington. We'll see how he performs today against Tarleton State. What's Tarleton State's nickname? The Texans, I think? I'm not even sure.
I have no idea.
Tarleton State's up 7-0 on Portland State early in this game. The Tarleton State Texans, they had a big pass play that was overturned with a flag. So it resulted then in Portland State taking over, and then Downing, the quarterback. I think they went 3-and-out, and now Tarleton State's up 7-0. So we'll keep tabs on that one, but good chance to see how they play with this Downing guy at quarterback, because they've had 3 or 4 guys competing to be their QB1, and appears they're going with this Gabe Downing, a sophomore out of Olympia, Washington, while BYU, on the other hand, is going with Bear Bachmeier, true freshman out of Marietta, California. I'm curious, Nate, your thoughts. We haven't got your opinion on the matter. Bear Bachmeier, he's getting the nod. QB1 as a true freshman. You've never seen him go through a game yet at the college level. He's went through many practices, whether it be at Stanford or BYU. Your thoughts on Roderick and Kalani's bold move to go with a true freshman in week 1?
Yeah, I like it. I've always been of the belief where if it's not a big enough gap between him and the other 2 quarterbacks, you probably ride with the younger guy. And I think his size helps, not just because, look, and I kind of touched on this last week, but I don't think the whole thing about McKay Hillstead being short is a big deal. I don't think that had much to do with the competition at all, and I don't think that would have held him back at all. But there are benefits to having a bigger quarterback. And
sure.
There was an interview that Jack Kelly had earlier in the week, and Jack Kelly was just talking about how, he's a big guy and he can run fast and he's going to make dudes pay if they try to bring him down. And so I think there's a lot of benefits with that. I like having a young quarterback I feel like he's going to kind of push things maybe farther than he probably should push them, just because he's a confident freshman. He was a highly touted recruit. He went through a spring ball at Stanford. He transferred in. He won the job right away. So I feel like he's going to have a lot of confidence. I think that kind of spreads throughout the team as well. But I think there's going to be a lot of deep shots, I imagine, in the next couple weeks, just to kind of get the fans excited and behind him. And so I think there's a lot of exciting things, between running over a linebacker potentially or throwing a deep ball. I'm excited to see what Bear does over the next season.
Your thoughts on him wearing 47 as a quarterback?
It.
You love it?
I love it.
You're all on it? You're all in?
I say I love it unless he plays poorly, and then I hate it. And then he has to change his number. But as long as he plays well, I can get down with it. 47, I played, so my first year playing tackle football, I played quarterback, and I was number 52. So if he'd been number 52, we could have really gone off the rails with that. But 47, I can get down with 47.
Yeah, I can get on board with 47, much more than 52. I didn't know that. You played a little QB then?
Yeah, growing up a little bit back in the day, yeah.
Good stuff. I am excited to see what Bear Bachmeier looks like in this BYU offense in a game. And I do want to see those deep shots against Portland State. But I also just want to see BYU utilize the speed on the edges with the wide receivers. I feel like BYU's receivers, what I saw in fall camp, Bear can just throw a quick little, 3-yard pass to the flat, and someone could take off and take off for a first down. There's speed on the perimeter for BYU this season that I think it's one of the fastest wide receiver units BYU's ever had. The cliche used to be possession receivers at BYU, guys that know the playbook. Yeah, you got guys that know the playbook, sure, but there's speed too. And I think Cody Hagan, Tiger Bachmeier, JoJo Phillips, I think is due for a big leap this season. So just get the ball to the playmakers' hands. And then, oh, by the way, you got a preseason first-team All-Big 12 selection in Chase Roberts. Get him the rock. Get L.J. Martin the rock. Good things will happen. Don't force the issue. And I think you make a good point there that sometimes freshmen can get a little too hyped and they almost press the issue just a bit. Hopefully he stays calm and poised, and we did see that in fall camp. And that was one of the things that really impressed me was that the speed of the game did not seem to faze him. And I know that in practice you have the peace of mind knowing you're not going to get hit. The blind side's not going to get hit. You're not going to get any sort of contact with that green jersey on. But I just thought he was very poised and collected and just didn't seem overwhelmed by that new playbook. So when the coaches say that he knows the playbook inside and out, I mean, I hear that. I'm like, okay, we'll see in games. But he just didn't seem rattled. He was, and I'm curious to see how his kind of voice comes along too, because you got to have that little bit of a gnarly voice. Like just owning the line of scrimmage and calling out the plays when you do huddle up, having a very authoritative voice. And this is your team, Bear. Like this is your offense. Don't relinquish this moment and take advantage of it, but don't be rushed by it. And I think it is nice to have an FCS team to open. I know I said I don't want these games anymore, but if you are going to roll out a true freshman, I'm okay with an FCS game and then a bye a couple weeks later to kind of settle things and reevaluate the situation. But I think Bear will do a solid job. It's when Big 12 play comes into the mix where things will really ramp up and we'll start to truly get a sense of how much he's ready for that stage, because I think Big 12 play is a much steeper learning curve than what he's going to face in non-conference. But I'm excited. I think it's just whenever you get a chance to see history for a program that's been doing it for more than 100 years, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially the Big 12 games on the road, that's going to be completely different. His success against the BYU defense in practices gives me some confidence as well. Aaron Roderick talked about how his completion percentage was among the highest of the competing quarterbacks, and he had the fewest interceptions thrown. And so if that's against the number one defense in the conference and the number one defense in terms of interceptions last season, like that gives me confidence that he can do the same thing against Big 12 teams. But it's those road games, the games at Iowa State, the games at Texas Tech, that give me a little bit of pause. But even if you don't win those and you say, you still finish the season 9-3, 8-4, I think that's a big success. But if he's able to get comfortable, kind of get his feet wet over the next few weeks and ramp up for the Colorado game, that gives me a lot more confidence in this BYU football team.
We're 1 week away until BYU and Portland State. And, again, we're watching Portland State live in action. They had one of their other quarterbacks, number 14, come into the action. Tyree Smith, he was on some play utilizing two quarterbacks. So maybe we see multiple quarterbacks from Portland State. We'll see if they dip into their bag of tricks getting ready for BYU and Portland State next week. But kickoff at 6. We will have coverage next week here on Cougar Sports Saturday beginning at noon. We're 1 week away until BYU football returns. The offseason is finally over, folks. We've arrived. BYU football is here, and we will have you covered here on Cougar Sports Saturday and on Cougar Tracks daily, Monday through Friday, and then coming up on Tuesday, 1st and 12, a Big 12 football show as well. So we are locked and loaded for the upcoming football season here on the legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio. Enjoy your weekend. We will talk to you next week on game day as we get you ready for BYU football to kick off the 2025 season. Take care, everyone.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. The federal government is trying to force Kilmar Abrego Garcia to accept a guilty plea or face deportation to Uganda, say his attorneys in a court filing today. This, they say, was after Abrego Garcia declined an offer to be deported to Costa Rica in exchange for remaining in jail and pleading guilty to human smuggling charges. He just was released by a judge and returned to his family as he awaits trial. Abrego Garcia was wrongfully deported to a mega prison in El Salvador and returned to the U.S. This video just posted to TikTok by an immigrant advocacy group as it was welcomed back by his family. A truck driver from India accused of being in the U.S. illegally, who allegedly made an illegal U-turn that killed 3 people in Florida last week, was denied bail today in Fort Pierce, Florida. Man got a work permit and driver's license in California. About 800 people are in an evacuation zone near that factory fire in Louisiana, about an hour northeast of New Orleans, say local officials. The fire that started yesterday is still burning. People are urged by the Federal Agriculture Department not to touch the black soot in the smoke.
This order is based primarily on the risk of falling debris, as well as a precautionary measure due to the ongoing and active nature of the scene.
Louisiana State Police Sergeant William Huggins calling a new report by a UN-backed group a lie that he says uses Hamas sources for its conclusions. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. The report says more than 500,000 people are facing catastrophic conditions of starvation, destitution, and death in Gaza.
We are seeing children facing acute malnutrition. Already over 130 children have died of malnutrition. That's outside of the 17,000 killed on the siege on Gaza.
The executive director of the United Nations Relief Agency, Mark Cronenfeld. You're listening to ABC News.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
How does a soccer club, born in an unlikely place,
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
built with players no one else wanted,
We knew no one believed in us.
reach the league's highest heights?
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
and unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you